Attention, please be advised. The following episode contains spoilers. Don't say we didn't warn you.
We could still party, just leave the cloak on.
Oh boy.
I wear my robe.
Lord of the
and
Rings
wizard
equivalent
hat.
of putting a bag over his head.
Nerd on.
What is, everyone?
What is?
Welcome to Nerd on the Podcast. You didn't need, but you deserve, where all level of nerd are welcome. Here we are a year later, y'all.
A year.
A
Cray.
whole year.
1 whole year. We made it.
We did a
thing.
Starting after these mega 3 episodes to celebrate a year, we're done.
Yeah.
We're
We
just
wanted to
gonna
give them
stop.
to you bingeable.
In case you don't know what we're talking about, this is the first of 3 episodes that is dropping at the same time.
Holy
Yes.
balls.
3 for one.
Eat your heart out, Netflix.
Because you deserve it.
Yeah. And not only are they 3 mega episodes, but they're also 3 mega episodes about one
Mega
of
topics.
my favorite topics of all
Oh, yeah.
time. Ali
Also-
Abdul's. I think a lot of people in this
Yeah.
room's favorite topic.
We've been leading up to this a little bit.
Yes, yes. If you aren't aware of what we're talking about, we have these next 3 episodes of The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings.
Each film is getting its own episode.
It
Yeah.
needs it, I
We're going to
feel
focus
like.
on the films. We'll reference book when needed.
We will be talking here and there about the extended editions. I mean, that's the one I'm most familiar with now at this point.
It's the absolute edition.
Yes.
The
So,
Grandmaster Supreme DJ Grand
Deluxe.
mix.
Wow.
yeah.
Yes. The
If
big
you
one.
haven't seen that, pause it and spend a whole day.
Take a day off.
I think the actual math is something like 12, 13 hours
Something like
for
that.
all 3 of the films. Very proud of you if you make it through in one day.
Order 100 chicken wings.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
come
Cozy
back
up.
here
That's a good
and
idea.
we'll get started.
Yeah.
But first,
We have some business.
Some business. This episode is brought to you in part by our patrons over at Patreon.
Ba-ba-ba-ba.
That's pretty exciting to say every single time. That's why I like saying it. That's why I get mad when people take it from me.
I understand.
I said it really quietly.
I said it loudly.
But yeah, thank you to all of our patrons over at Patreon. Without you, none of this would be possible.
Yeah.
Thank you for helping this show continue going further and further as we go.
We
And
actually,
expanding.
I think I can safely say we would not have made it a year without our patrons.
No.
With that said, I'm Corey.
I am Tom.
I am Josh.
Ali.
Caitlin.
And I'm Corey.
Nice.
I am son of Gondor.
Let's keep going around.
Let's jump right in. Well, first of all, spoilers. If you haven't seen it,
Spoilers.
obviously, like
We're going to talk
please
about
go
the
see
whole
it before
thing.
you watch this. Before you listen to this
So
episode.
2001.
Yes.
So 17 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Blows my mind.
if you
Almost
haven't
20-year-old.
seen it yet,
There are people.
there are people. I know.
Mhm.
I have a friend
That's fine.
who just said to me the other day, you know what? I haven't seen Jurassic Park. And I was like,
What?
well, I'm excited because I get to watch it with them. And I just am going to stare at them the whole time and be like, what are your reactions seeing this for the first time? What do your
The whole
eyes
movie,
do?
you're watching them.
And then
Yeah.
every time they look at me, I just point back at the screen. Watch the movie.
I mean, that's the kind of like world we live in now, where we like to watch other people doing other things.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Speaking of which, you can go to our Twitter. No, I'm just kidding.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Can we jump into initial reactions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's get it moving.
Okay, how about I do
Yeah.
it for me first? Just
Yeah,
because I
please.
think so. This is the spoiler.
You're
for-
of the youngest.
I am
as
of
you
the
like to
youngest,
say.
but also
of the
I think I am also of like the least like in-depth hardcore fan of it in this room.
Okay.
Like I would say,
I say
like
that, I think
everyone
that's fair.
here has watched it more than I have. Everyone here has like learned, like got the extended edition.
Yeah,
I don't.
Tom and I just saw Tom just saw the extended edition for the first time.
till this moment, I do not own a copy of it on disc. I've only
Uncultured swine.
well, my parents only had it on
I'm
VHS.
so glad that
I like how
gotta
that
be
makes
part
him
of the
a-
sigh.
Yeah.
I got to be part of the sigh for once.
Yes.
You did. I'm
But no, I've known of the subject. I've known of the story. I've watched it in theaters when I was a kid. But then I never took any more time to it other than like being in school and, substitute teacher or the last day of school. They roll in that TV with the straps on.
And you don't finish it until next year.
And every class is fucking, 50 minutes. So it's like you see just half of the movie, of the theatrical movie, and then you leave.
or a third.
Yeah, well,
Third. Yeah. More like it.
But, I remember watching it as a kid, and I remember this is, December of 2001. And it was just like, okay, this is like medieval. That's what I thought. I was like, this is medieval stuff, right?
Medieval times.
At the time I was watching like Xena and Hercules, and then I knew of like Merlin stuff, and like I was like, King Arthur. I was like, that was my reference. That was
That's
the baggage
fair.
I brought into it. So I was like, okay, I could kind of get this. I'm like, there's supposed to be dragons and goblins and orcs and stuff like that, but it's never been my aesthetic. I've never really liked that aesthetic. I never liked like the Middle Earthy kind of feel. But then as I grew up and grew older, like I got influenced by like magic, and I saw like video games, where like it is about this kind of like world, where there's castles and sieges and wars. And I was like, this is dope. And I really like it. And then recently I started watching it after taking film classes and all that stuff. And there's definitely a reason why this trilogy of all sci-fi fantasy trilogies that they've made that are mega movie blockbusters, this is the reason. This is the one of the few that actually get critical acclaim with the Academy.
It's a little bit of a big deal.
Return of the King still holds the record.
Get like Academy nominations and wins. There have been superhero movies that get Academy nominations. Very
Was
few.
it 12?
I believe it was 11.
11?
Wow.
Something like
Could
that.
be wrong.
And
It's crazy.
this is the only trilogy that's actually able to get a big bang of the movie box office, get Academy Awards, and walk away still being beloved by fans.
Yeah.
So
It's actually tied with Titanic.
Yeah.
For the most awards.
Okay.
It won every award it was nominated for.
Right.
Wow.
So those are my.
So it's a big deal.
It's Lord of the Rings is a big deal, but this is we're talking Two Towers today, or sorry, Fellowship of the Ring today.
Dare you?
I know, right?
That's the next episode.
I know. I was thinking about what we're watching next.
Yeah.
But yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Josh.
Well, this movie for me, so it came out 2001. So I was a sophomore in high school, and so back then, you actually went to midnight showings.
Yeah.
Like they were
Yeah.
actually
yeah.
midnight.
Well,
Actually, midnight.
I mean, people didn't get shot up at screenings. That's why.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's the reason why they started doing earlier screenings.
Yeah.
To make it safer.
Way to bring it down, Tom.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Just made my heart
Way
hurt.
down.
Way down.
Well,
It's not like the fact that
I
we've
was
lost.
bringing up a nostalgia.
It's not the fact we
note.
lost the culture. It's the fact that sometimes
Anyway,
stupid
Wow.
things happen.
Josh, continue your childhood delight.
I know that we're just talking about Fellowship, but for all three, I went to the midnight showings.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I hadn't read the books. I had a friend who was really into it. And so we went, and I just remember just completely being floored,
Yeah.
like just by the whole thing. I mean, and it's always captured my heart. I am a big fan of that aesthetic that you're talking about, Tom. And I just have always dug it. I'm also like a fantasy person. I love those kinds of
H-Pots.
worlds.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I love that
H-Pots,
shit.
J-Parks.
Yeah.
Didn't Harry Potter come out the same year too?
2001?
I believe it. Yeah.
Like a month earlier or something?
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know release
I'll look it
dates.
up while you guys are telling your stories.
Yeah. Ali?
Yeah, I mean, this came out when I was in high school. I want to say sophomore as well,
Yeah.
because I think I was.
Aren't you guys
in
like close in
sophomore.
age?
Huh?
Aren't you guys like close in age?
I think we are.
So
Yeah.
there you go.
I think we're 33.
Would be the same.
I'm 32, but I was a young.
And
like
I was
went-
old because I was held back in kindergarten.
Nice.
Hey, everybody.
H-Pots was October of 2001.
Oh, okay. So
Wow.
You were right.
Okay.
Just a couple months.
yeah, nice.
So yeah, I was super hyped for this. So I remember I remember when the trailer dropped and
Wh-
we all huddled around.
Why were you hyped for it? Did you know about it beforehand, or was it just
I knew of it,
okay?
but I didn't really know anything about it. But it was just kind of like there was a lot of hype for it and like everywhere, like online and stuff like that. And I was really excited to see it. And I owned the book, but I didn't read it. Right
You just
then.
had it.
I think
just had it.
everybody
You just
did.
had it,
They
yeah.
had the set.
I didn't,
Well, I got
but
the
never-
one that was like
I got a
I think
story
you
about
got it at like Costco, where like it was like just like the collection
Yeah.
version with like the blue cover.
Nice.
You get someone out there knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
Shout out to that person.
Yeah. But that was I was just amazed by like the music, the visuals, the storytelling. I was immediately enthralled. I immediately like I saw it, I want to say I saw it like 3 or 4 times in theaters with like various groups. And
Yes.
someone had
Yes.
a good,
we
good high school life.
a good buddy of mine, Andrew, shout out to Andrew.
Shout out to Andrew.
We started a forum, an online forum, the old school style forums for Lord of the
What is
Rings.
this forum you speak of?
They were called they were called the White Knight forums, and they were like
Oh,
they were like the number one Lord of the Rings forums, and like
Nice.
me and
That's
him
awesome.
Wow.
ran it for like years.
Why White Knights?
The White Rider.
'Cause-
Oh, White
White
Rider.
Rider.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, so that was my experience with it. And then of course, like being a shut-in like high schooler nerd, I got the extended edition as soon as I could, and I just watched like the behind the scenes that was like, what is it, like 5 hours by itself?
Yeah.
Like that over and over again.
Even more.
Did that come?
There's one that's only 5 hours, but on the Blu-rays, there's actually something
There's
like
additional.
26 hours of behind the scenes.
Yeah,
stuff.
did
it's
that
crazy.
come out like once it like was out of theaters? Like I'm wondering, did it come out after the trilogy was over, or did
No.
it come out?
It came in between. I remember that specifically
it.
because I would get them one at a time, and they look like fake books kind of. And inside was 4 discs, each one, 2 for the movie, 2 for the special edition,
Yeah.
for the
Nice.
special
Yeah.
features. Director commentary, back when like commentaries were still a thing.
Yeah.
There was like 2 or 3 commentaries I listened to, like them all multiple times. I was just so geeked out on it. It was amazing. Because I remember after you got like you would buy the extended edition and they matched for
Everyone, he
each
pointed at
3
me.
at the to continue answering your question.
Yeah.
But once you got all 3, the third one, Return to King, came with like a little coupon inside of the extended edition book to like mail order a sleeve to hold all 3 of them.
Oh.
And I did that,
God.
and it's glorious, and I still have it to
So
this day.
that's like the original DLC.
Yeah.
It's like the original. I was like, that's so cool that they thought of this.
It's free
and,
LC.
like, order it. Yeah, it was free. I think you just had to pay like shipping or
$3.90
something
free,
like that.
baby.
Oh, can we coin that? Free LC when it's free,
Free
downloadable
LC.
content.
Never gonna happen.
Which
But yeah, that's my initial thing with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I was kind of reminded just another kind of like inner like media nostalgia thing is like movies used to take like a year to come out on like
Yeah.
and now they're like months.
yeah
They're
it's
like 4 months.
it's-
Yeah.
Or if it fails, they're like a week later. Like, hey,
Yeah.
it's digitally available now.
yeah
But it broke so much ground
Yeah.
with like using New Zealand as a location. You know, it was like just the breadth of the production was like insane.
they had to
Oh,
create
yeah.
a whole nother branch of their government that was just for like the Lord of the Rings tourism
Yeah.
based.
What?
because they
Yeah.
It's like
Oh
the
my God.
it's like this it's something the Lord of the Rings
Mhm.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
Because it
it's
brought
their
so
job
much tourism there, they
to
had
do.
to create a whole new
they had to
like
create a whole
correct.
thing
area to control it and mitigate it and stuff
Wow.
But music, like we're all like back then, you know, I think it was like exiting the movie themes trope kind
Yeah.
of. And I just desperately wanted to cling on to that with like an amazing.
Oh, and they were
lyrics.
going to a lot of soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
motion capture is another thing that they kind of like
Motion
broke
capture.
ground when
like that.
That was more, I think that started more in Two Towers, but
Yeah.
yeah
Boobs McBalrog. How much did this movie affect you?
I'd say a fair bit.
just
since
a little bit
that's,
enough
like,
to mark your skin.
enough to mark my skin. I do have a tattoo on my left ankle of the writing around the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
In the tongue of Mordor.
I do. The black speech.
I don't like the way you said black.
I honestly don't remember how I felt when I initially saw it. I do remember
Because you blacked out.
kind of. I was like, oh my
So
god, this
amazed.
is so amazing. But no, I just, I mean, obviously it super impacted me, but it wasn't the initial reaction that got me. It was like over time,
Yeah.
the impact there. So I guess my initial reaction is that I like the movie.
I like
I like the movie.
perfect.
No, it's my thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But yeah, no, that's it. I like the movie.
All right, I guess it goes to me then.
Yeah, that's all you, Cor.
So this is a very important film trilogy to me, and
Does that many like it?
I think it was my next. I think this movie was my next step. I talk about Lawrence of Arabia, kind of putting my foot in the door and being like, "Oh, these are what movies are."
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Took your movie virginity
And
away.
basically, while I saw this when I was younger, this is the movie that made me pay attention to a lot of intricate details that can go into film and stuff
Mhm.
like that. But I remember seeing it with my dad. Shout out to Jolie and Chris
Shout out.
Carlin, who went with me. Got a group together. He grew up on the books and the cartoon. And so he was very excited to bring us as well. And we did the midnight release. And I remember I was over the fucking moon. I had
Mhm.
never seen anything like this in my life. I was a big Harry Potter fan. I read all the books, all that kind of stuff, and the Harry Potter movie was great. But for me, this took something to a whole new level with characters like, I remember Gandalf still to this day is one of my favorite fictional characters of all time.
Yep.
Legolas for a long time was like a god to me. I thought
Yeah.
he was so cool.
He's a
He's
Middle
got-
Earth.
so pretty.
He's a Middle Earth Ken doll.
He's got like that one big badass moment in every movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that was the coolest. Aragorn, I didn't like as much until I got older, and I was
He's
like,
dirty.
oh, he's the shit. I didn't understand. But I remember we left, and of course I was a little heartbroken because Gandalf was dead. And like,
Spoilers.
props to my dad for not saying anything, to have like a kid basically crying because the character died, but like still
Yeah.
loved the movie. But like every time I would talk about it, I get like, why did Gandalf have to die? And why? And he would just go, I don't know, just how it goes sometimes. And like he knew because he had.
Aw.
And then when you found out,
Yeah.
you're like, you asshole.
So we're driving home.
You monster.
We're driving home, and we get home, and Chris gets picked up by his mom, and my dad and I go in, and there on the table is the 3 books waiting for me. And I devoured that shit. Now I will say I haven't read it since because they're long as fuck. And
Yeah.
props to Tolkien for like creating all of this and creating a whole new language.
Fuck, I'm 5
da-da-da-da-da-da.
pages in and he just explained a rock.
Yes, his descriptions go on for so long
Ever.
that even as a kid, like being like, I'm gonna read every word of this. I remember being like, I could probably skip this sentence here.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're talking again. Here we go. But man, it like changed me. I think it was what I think I can safely accredit Lord of the Rings for being the foundation of my nerddom. Like I feel like it's the thing that solidified me there. Like I
Yeah.
could have gone one of 2 ways, and my dad took me to Lord of the Rings. And I was like, fucking here's where I live now.
Going back to episode 1, the tree of nerddom.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings would be your roots.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing that strongly ties
it's
me
really nerdy.
to fantasy stuff, and like it's
Yeah.
the reason I love anything that is in that realm is
Nice.
because of Lord of the Rings, and it's many a nights spent down going Wikipedia holes because
Yeah.
I decided
It's
to
very
click on
easy.
one character and be like,
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
this person calls them that. Oh, who's this person? Oh, who's this person? And then 3 hours
Family
later,
trees.
I'm
Like,
like, can I tell you about the Valar? So
But I think like to further my point, because these movies are really important to me. They are single-handedly the 3 films that made me want to like become a filmmaker or like a storyteller.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is gonna be my career. I'm
I
gonna
think they're perfect
make
films.
things. I'm gonna make universes. That's what I want to do.
Which have aged well for 17 years. As I've been watching them, I'm like, holy shit,
Yeah.
this was 17 years ago.
wow.
But let's get into brief
Brief-ass synopsis.
synopsis of the
So the
Fellowship of
brief
the Ring.
synopsis is going to be like half an hour.
So let me tell you about the Valar and who they are.
No.
We'll go into the 5 Maiar and then
Oh, please.
no, we'll start. Where it starts.
Bilbo.
Basically, there's this evil dude who made these powerful rings, and then he made himself a ring that basically gives him complete control and ultimate
Over all the other
power.
rings.
His name.
And he gets his fingers cut off.
Mhm.
And they go
Same
to
as
throw the
Sauron.
ring in, and Isildur is like, peace, bitch, I'm keeping this ring. It's dope.
Isildur is one of the kings of man.
He's the guy who cut off Sauron, the evil guy, his fingers, and took the ring, and he was supposed to take it to Mount Doom to destroy it. He doesn't do it. He walks away. And then the ring, as they say, betrays him because it wants to find its master, right? So he gets killed in the river, and the ring is lost for thousands of years
Mhm.
until a river hobbit finds it.
Yep.
And
By the name
Spoilers.
of Smeagol.
technically, Smeagol doesn't find the ring. His
No, he
brother
doesn't.
does.
His brother finds it.
Smeagol kills the shit out of his brother.
Cain and Abel.
But we don't find that out until a later movie, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But so then he has it, and it gives him unnatural life for 500 and something years, and eventually
Long
Bilbo
time.
gets it and wins in a battle of wits against Smeagol, or Gollum as he's known at this point. And then Bilbo holds on to it for fucking ever, and then he gets an extended life to 111, which is unheard of. I believe in the book he's
Pretty old.
128,
Really?
something like that. Yeah.
When he dies, or just at this point?
By the time the
Fellowship.
Fellowship's together.
Whoa.
So then he's like, you know what? I'm old as shit. I'm out of here. I'm gonna leave everything to Frodo because he's dope. I want to go on another adventure. I'm tired of the simple life because he's had a taste of adventure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then at his birthday, he goes to disappear, puts on the ring. Gandalf's like, fuck that. You need to give that ring to Frodo. And Bilbo's like, yeah, of course. And then tries to leave again. And he's like, yo, Bilbo, you need to give that ring to Frodo. And he's like, I said Fring, I
Hey,
understand.
bruh.
That's fucking ring.
Also, one of my favorite shots in the film is when he drops the ring and it just,
It's like 1,000 pounds.
slams in the ground. Anyway,
Because it's mad.
Gandalf at this point is going, that seems like it's the One Ring. He did call it precious and all that kind of stuff. So when Frodo gets there, he doesn't touch it. He puts him in the envelope and says, keep it secret, keep it safe. And then he disappears for a little while. In the book, it was 30 years.
Yeah.
Oh,
In the movie, it's
my
like a
God.
month.
Yeah.
And he finds out everything he can find out about the One Ring. And then he comes back to Frodo and he's like, throw it in the fire. Shit, it's the One Ring. Let's take it to the elves. So him and Sam and Frodo and Sam
Pippin.
set off.
Gandalf goes to find Saruman.
Yep, Saruman.
Digi-
And it
it's a
turns out,
Digimon.
To seek counsel.
yeah, Saruman's a piece of shit, we learn.
Yeah.
But shout out to Christopher Lee
Mm.
because
Oh my
R.I.P.
gosh.
Tolkien
Christopher
actually gave him permission to be like, I want you to be Gandalf someday.
Mm.
But then was like, nah, Ian McKellen should be Gandalf and I'll be Saruman. So good on him. So obviously Gandalf doesn't make it to Bree because Saruman's like, bitch.
Traps him on the roof.
It traps him on the roof.
We're
They
all
have a
trying to get to
dope
Brie
ass. One
Larson.
of my favorite lines in the movie too. Tell me, when did Saruman the Wise abandon reason for madness? And then they have a badass wizard fight. Anyway, Sam and the
Wizard
other
fight.
hobbits, they now have found Merry and Pippin,
Yep.
who were into Farmer
Stumbled
Maggot's
upon them.
crop. They decide they're going to help him because the Black Rider almost killed him. They get on the Buckleberry Ferry and make it to Bree. But Gandalf is nowhere to be found. So, of course,
Skipping
at
by a
this
Peter
point-
Jackson cameo.
Yeah, Peter Jackson cameo. Frodo's going by a pseudonym because Baggins Shire is who the Dark Lord is looking for. So
Mhm.
Baggins carries a lot of weight. Don't say it anywhere. But of course, Pip is like, Baggins, of course I know Baggins.
Fucking
He's my
Pip.
cousin right over there, once removed on my mother's side. And they're like, oh my God. And then the ring falls on his finger because it wants to be used. It's
Mhm.
like, I'm going to give a clue to everyone who wants me. Here we go. And then Strider's badass as shit. Are you
Pulls the
scared?
wraiths in.
Yes, not nearly scared enough. We have a moment where they think they all die, but they don't.
Mhm.
The ring wraiths are pretty pissed about being tricked. No
Yeah.
big deal. They get attacked eventually by a bunch of ring wraiths
Weathertop.
on the Weathertop because they want some nice
Crispy
crispy,
Crispy
bacon.
bacon.
Put it out, you fools!
We did it all for the bacon.
And again,
wouldn't,
Frodo
really?
gets stabbed by a Morgul blade, which is basically a perma injury for the rest of your life. It's pretty
Aragorn
shitty.
takes on 5 of those guys.
Yeah, and throws a fucking stick in its face
Yeah.
on fire.
Apparently, if
Amazing.
Like
If-
a torch?
if nothing were to happen to the wound, he would turn into one of the riders.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
He would become a like an agent of Sauron.
Oh.
Then he meets Arwen, who's like, I'm gonna take him to Rivendell. I'm also gonna make mad horses out of this water.
Aerosmith.
Yeah, and she
Summon
does.
that Leviathan summon.
Yeah, and it even I love. You know what I love about that? It even surprises her. She's even like, oh shit,
Like,
I
oh,
did it.
that's big.
So they get to Rivendell, and everyone's happy. Everyone's like, great, I don't have to do this anymore.
Agent
Sam and
Smith.
Frodo are like, yo, we done our thing. We want to go.
We out, homie.
And they're like, let's have counsel. Let's seek counsel. So we have Boromir from Gondor. We have Gimli of the Dwarves. We have Legolas of the Mirkwood clan. Like, everyone is there being like, yo, Elrond called us. Some shit's going down. And he's like, look, this is the One Ring. Gimli tries to break it with an axe, which is stupid as shit because, like, we would have done that already.
Yeah.
It's gonna break.
And then they start fighting. Gandalf goes badass wizard mode to
Boromir.
Boromir to prove a point, being like, look, this is what everyone's gonna talk
speaks
if we don't
the-
if we don't fix this.
He speaks the evil language.
Everyone
over here.
starts fighting. Frodo goes, I will take it. Gandalf has a sad moment because he's like, fuck, that's the last thing I
just
wanted.
tried to get you out of here.
And that part always gives me chills, that look on his face, because I think Ian McKellen's fucking fantastic. And then they say, my sword, my bow, my axe. And then Sam's like, also me. And Elrond's like, what the fuck? And then Merry and Pippin are like, also us. And he's like, who let these fucking people in here?
Who let the?
And so you're the Fellowship of the Ring, and they take off. And now
Credits.
we're halfway through the movie, just to let you know. I'm trying to go as quick as I can.
You're doing great.
And so then they're going, and they realize that the path that they want to take is being watched by the crows of Saruman, who's busy making Uruk-hai at this time, tearing up the forests. And they say, all right, well, let's go over the mountain. And then Saruman's like, bitch, no, you can't go over the mountain.
I'm real
And
loud.
So they're stuck at an impasse,
La, 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 la.
right? So we have Boromir being like, we should go to Gondor, which is dangerous because Rohan is right next to Mordor, which means like you're basically being like, hey, look at me. I'm over here with the ring. Don't come over here. And also, Aragorn knows that Gondor is led at the time by Denethor, who is just mad with power. So he knows that if he has the ring, he'll want to use it to save his town, blah, blah, blah. So that's a
And
bad
it's not
choice.
gonna work so well.
And then Gimli's like, we could go to Moria, Balin will give us a Balin entrance. And
Oh,
thank you, I
it was
appreciate that.
bad.
And
my
so
heart
then
hurts.
they say Gandalf doesn't want to go to Moria because he knows about Boobs and Balrog down there.
He knows about Caitlyn.
And so he's
Me.
like, let the ring bearer decide because they're both pretty shitty. And then he's like, let's go to Moria. And Gandalf's like, fuck, let's go to Moria. So they have this moment where they're trying to enter and
Hentai
Gandalf
monster.
can't figure out the riddle. Yeah, hentai troll comes.
ensues.
And they finally get it. Frodo figures out the riddle, proving once and for all that he's meant to be the ring bearer because he's like, shit, I'm clever as shit. And they get in, but then they get pulled out by I forget the name of the monster.
I don't
forget it
remember
too.
either.
Off
It's
the top of
from
my
Deep
head.
Rising.
Anyway.
I'll look it up while you're telling a story.
They basically, we find out through lore, not through the movie, that they don't kill it. They just injure the shit out of it. And then anyway,
So the immortally
And it's
wounded.
like, fuck,
so
you
then
cut
they
off
go
my
into
tentacle.
Moria, and then they're like, cool, I'm
I'm
so excited to
mine.
be
It's
here.
the Watcher.
The Watcher, okay.
mine.
And then this is no mine. This is a tomb. Everyone's dead. So Gandalf goes, well, let's walk through this tomb ass shit for 4 days because it's creepy. They have a great moment where they find Gollum is following him, and Frodo and Gandalf have this moment that really impacts Frodo. Like that's a really important scene to I feel like Frodo grows a lot in that moment. Like don't deal out death and judgment. Even the very wise don't know the ends of all means. And I think it's the reason, I don't think it is the reason that later on in the films, he spares Gollum's life because he's like, I think Gandalf says the exact words that it was Bilbo's pity that may change the fate of man.
Stayed his hand.
Well, it stayed his hand, but it's saying Bilbo's pity may have changed the fate because now that Gollum's alive, he may course correct some things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really cool little circular thing from The Hobbit. Anyway, they find the way, follow your nose, and they find Balin's tomb. Fool of a took, some shit falls down a well. Now everyone knows they're there. Some shit's gonna go
Everyone.
down. They have a cave troll. They start fighting. This is our first big badass moment we have as our fellowship. Like the Watcher was cool, but this is the first time I remember I was in silence in the theater just being like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Gimli has that badass line where he's like, there's still one dwarf that draws breath in Moria. And I'm like, yes, come on, let's do this. Even the hobbits fight, they do their little like, let's go. There's a cave
It's like
troll.
you wind them up. You wind up the
Yeah,
hobbits.
exactly.
Aragorn is throwing swords.
Gimli, what I forgot to say is Gimli found out that his entire family's dead.
And he doesn't
So
handle
there's
it
that.
well.
He doesn't, well, he handles it pretty
He
well.
doesn't alert all the people to come kill him.
He ends up like murdering a bunch of people.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And then Frodo gets stabbed. And then we have our
With,
first
like, a
badass
lance.
Legolas moment. Like, yeah, the cave troll grabs a spear, turns it around, and just stabs him in the gut. And so
Kind of looks like a jizz face.
Legolas has his first badass moment where Merry and Pippin get all pissed and they're stabbing him.
course.
And the troll looks up and he shoots the troll in the top of its mouth, right into the brain.
Yeah.
Like, hell of a shot. It dies. But Frodo's alive. He like opens up his shirt and he's like, I'm not wearing hockey pads.
Oh my god!
That's
And
good.
I
was
That was a good
hoping.
time. That was a good time.
And it turns
That
out
was such a like big moment for me. So the fact that you just
Yeah.
fucking got me with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
hockey pads, I'm a
Oh,
little
100%
upset.
I got you. 100%.
A little upset.
So it turns out he's wearing a mithril vest that Bilbo gave him, which I forgot to mention earlier, but it's
Bilbo was at Rivendell.
yeah, Bilbo's old as shit
And he's
now.
like,
I want it.
He's aging. The ring is no longer protecting him.
Yep.
So anyway, he's alive. There's more than meets the eye. He's a transformer in a sense. And then they are starting to leave. They're like, let's get the hell out of here. Wow, it's really beautiful here. Let me get some more light going on, Gandalf says. And everyone's like, wow, it's gorgeous. And then the goblins come and they start
And ghouls.
running. And they're surrounded. And all of a sudden, the goblins just vanish. And everyone else, like Gimli's stoked. They're all great. But you can see
A wild Caitlyn.
Gandalf
Yep.
is not stoked about this. Why is Gandalf not celebrating? Because
Because
he
it's
knows
me.
it's Caitlyn. It's Boobs McBalrog. He says that this foe is greater than the sum of our power. We got to run. So they all run.
Weak.
And then
He
Gandalf's
just
like,
did all of their stats, their party stats,
Yeah.
and he was like,
oh,
we can't do this, boss.
No,
I don't
he
have
didn't
any
even
Phoenix
need-
Downs.
he didn't even need to look at, he just looked at that stat and was like, I've never seen that number before. So
He was like, no, this is a scripted sequence. We can't beat it.
Yeah.
So they're running. They get to the bridge of Khazad-dûm, and he's like, "Get them across. I'm gonna fight this shit because I'm a keeper of the secret flame. I have basically immunity to flame damage, essentially." So he's like, "Come at me, bro." And the Balrog's like, "All right, you know." Then we have the "You shall not pass," and he breaks the bridge. And the Balrog's like, "What did you just do?" And he takes another step and he falls. And as an 11-year-old, I'm like, awesome. for 2 seconds.
Yep.
And then that whip
Whip.
comes up that
grabs
the
him.
Balrog has and pulls Gandalf down with him. Gandalf has a moment where he probably could pull himself up, but he knows that if he allows Frodo and all them to run back to him, they're probably dead too. So he just goes, "Die, you fools, and let's go." And Gandalf's dead. So
D-E-D,
outside,
dead.
everyone's having heartbreak, and Aragorn's like, "Yo, let's go. There's gonna be orcs everywhere by nightfall. We
For
gotta keep
pity's sake."
moving." He has a great moment with Sam where he gets Sam up and like touches his shoulder. He's like, "It's gonna be okay." So they get moving, and
Lothlorien.
yeah, Lothlorien. They meet Galadriel, and she's
Chloe Galadriel.
baller as shit. First of all,
Yeah.
Kinda creepy
They're
at
all
one
sad.
moment.
She can see right through Boromir, who has like a panic attack when she looks at him. He's like, "Oh my god, you know I'm having trouble with temptation."
Oh.
Gimli, who fucking hates elves, is like in love with her, which I love it.
So cute.
Yeah, it's great. She gives them all gifts. They rest, and you can hear the elves
I'm
singing.
sorry, just a second.
Yes.
Actually, that was the song that started when he was having his thing and they were showing her and it was kind of slow motion.
Oh no. So the elves hold a song for the death of Gandalf because everyone knew Gandalf. Plus, Galadriel and Gandalf were like besties. No big deal. So they were really sad. And then Sam has a really sweet moment where he says a poem for Gandalf about his fireworks. And it was really, it's one of my favorite moments as well.
Well, he was making it up on the
So
spot.
He was
right?
making it up on the spot, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it doesn't do it justice." And I was like, "No, you did fine, man. That was great."
It was good.
Gandalf would have loved
was
that
good,
shit.
Sam.
So she gives them all gifts. She gives Merry and Pip some daggers. She gives Sam some magical rope. She gives Frodo the light of their star, etc., etc., etc. Gimli gets 3 strands of her hair, which Caitlin let us know earlier. It was a really
It's a
big deal.
Very big
Why?
deal. Because in the lore, there was and of course now I'm gonna fuck up and not remember the name of
Just
the,
someone high and mighty.
someone high and mighty,
Well
asked
respected.
for
probably me.
like a strand of Galadriel's hair, and she's like, "Nah, bitch, not for you."
No.
And like I think multiple times
Yeah,
too. Like
multiple
he kept
people.
coming back to her. Multiple people were like, "We just want one strand of your glorious, beautiful Galadriel hair," and she's like, "Nah, fuck you, bitches. No, like it's not for you." And then
Maybe it's
so
Maybelline.
for Gimli, a dwarf, to ask Galadriel for a strand of her hair
Should have
was
been like a
should have been
Hell
like
no.
blaspheme.
instant
Street
no, like,
rat.
you are banned from this
Not only
place
no,
forever.
but hell no.
Hell no. And the fact that she gave him 3 strands of her hair is like a huge deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge deal.
So
If you look in the movie too, like Legolas's face is like, nice.
he knows.
Nice.
He knows what's up. Yeah. So they
I
get
was
on these
asking you.
boats and they're rafting down the waters and they pull up on this beach.
Before that, though, Galadriel kind of
Oh yeah, sorry.
has the moment
Yes.
Temptation.
has the yeah.
She has temptation. He offers her the ring. Frodo offers Galadriel the ring, and she says, "You would give this to me freely." And she has this moment of like seeing all the power she would have, and then she resists the power of the ring, which is a big deal because
Huge deal.
not a lot of people can do that.
She shall remain Galadriel.
Yeah,
But she also warns him about,
What's to come?
what's to come.
Yeah.
They will
And
come for
being
you.
because
People-
she's a ring bearer
Yeah.
technically. She has one of the
She has one of them.
Yeah.
9 elvish no 7
Three.
elvish rings.
3.
9 is the men. 7 is the
9 is the
dwarves.
Yeah.
men, 7 is the dwarves, 3
Um,
is
the
the elves.
elves.
So
One is the map.
So basically, she says, it's a lonely life to be a ring bearer because no one can carry that for you.
It will destroy your fellowship.
Yeah, and so
one by one.
So he already kind of has that like
seed
incepted
planted.
in him.
Yeah, and Boromir's been kind of shady as shit throughout the whole film as well. So he's already putting 2 and 2 together.
He's trying
like,
to.
All right.
He's trying to be
Spoiler
good.
alert.
So then they get to this little cove,
We get to the end of it, like,
and
end
they're
of a
like, "We're gonna
river.
rest here till night, go across the river,
Yeah.
and be on our way." And then someone's like,
Whereas
"Yo, where's Frodo?"
Mhm.
And everyone's like, "Oh shit!" And then Aragorn looks
Aragorn
over
looks
at
back.
Boromir's
shield.
his whole like setup, and
His
he's
kit
gone
is
too.
there.
So Frodo is like, "I'm leaving. I don't want to burden anyone else. This is my
He
journey."
was going to Irish goodbye.
Yeah. And then Boromir finds him and he goes,
Nice.
no one should be wandering alone. And basically tries to be like, we should use the ring. You give
have
it to
other
me.
options.
Lend it to me. I want to use it to help Gondor. I want to use it to do good.
I'll give it
And
back.
Frodo's like, sounds really smart, except for all this doubt I have in my heart about you. And he's
Except
doesn't.
you're shady, bro.
Yeah. And so Frodo's like,
Soup shady.
yo, bro, peace. And Boromir's like, no peace, and tries to attack him and takes the ring. And Frodo uses the ring, which sucks because now all the orcs and Uruk-hai know where he is.
It's just like a
Um,
beacon for all the bad guys.
Yeah. And then Boromir has a
That's
moment
so
where
neat.
he's like, "What have I done? Oh fuck!" And he starts to have a breakdown about like him. But now once the ring's gone, he's like himself again, and he's like, "Oh shit!"
Starts having
Idiot.
starts having a Rick Grimes.
So he's trying to, Frodo's trying to hide. Merry and Pippin find him and realize what he's doing and go like, "Hey, I'm right here. I'm tasty." And they start running. So all the orcs and Uruk-hai chase Merry and Pip, right? So they think they're the ring bearers because they don't
They're halflings.
know.
They
They're
just-
they're
all they
just
know
told
is
to
they're
get the
looking for
halfling
halflings.
Halflings with stuff.
and to not kill them.
And then Aragorn comes across Frodo, and Frodo's like, "Bro, I don't want trouble. Would you destroy this ring?" And he's like, "Fuck yes, I would destroy this ring. I'm not. Yes, I would follow you to the ends of the earth if I
Yeah.
could, but you got to go. I understand."
He realizes that like it'll never work with like a full fellowship.
Yep.
Or with anybody.
So then Aragorn goes badass mode and
Oh,
kills
yeah.
like
so badass.
So good.
maybe 100, 1,000. I wasn't counting. Who knows?
like
And then
1 million.
Legolas and Gimli join him, and they're the three best friends that anyone can have,
Mhm.
and they're badass as
Shout out
shit.
to the Hangover.
Cut to Merry and Pip almost being caught, and Boromir coming in and redeeming the shit out of himself.
Yeah.
And killing a bunch of
Save the
orcs
cat.
and Uruk-hai.
Saving
And
the
then
halflings.
finally Lurtz comes and shoots him 3 times. But
Lurtz,
mind you,
Lurtz is
Whoa.
Lurtz is a Uruk-hai.
Lurtz is like
That
the
Uruk-hai's name is Lurtz.
Yeah.
Lurtz is the first of the Uruk-hai that Saruman was like breeding to be the general.
So
of that.
Uruk-hai
That's just a
are orc
terrible
mixed
name.
with goblins. So they're these like super evil soldiers that are huge. They were basically New Zealand natives dressed in. I'm serious. That's what they were. They were a
yeah,
bunch of New
they
Zealand natives stuntmen who were just put in prosthetics, and there's just these huge guys.
It sounded like they just during the shoot they're like New Zealanders.
No,
they're
no,
monsters.
no.
We need to bring them. It's like Jesus. They're just New Zealands. Uruk-hai are just New Zealands.
So Lurtz shoots him 3
Aborigine.
times. All through the 3, he's still fighting and being a badass and being like, I gotta protect these little. I was a piece of shit.
You got
I gotta
triple
protect these
tapped.
guys. And right as Lurtz is about to, Merry and Pip get taken by the other
All the
orcs.
Uruk-hai leave.
Take them, and they all leave Boromir to die, and Lurtz comes up to just do
One
one
in the
last hit, and then Aragorn comes in and does badass Aragorn shit.
Aragorn
And
Ex
this is a
Machina.
big deal because the whole time throughout this movie, Aragorn and Boromir don't really like each other.
Clash.
Here's why. Aragorn is the rightful heir to Gondor, the White City. His
So-
great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was Isildur, the guy who didn't destroy the ring in the beginning,
Slice the fingies.
which is why he doesn't want to take the throne because he's like, that blood's in me. I could be a piece of
I'll do
shit
the
too.
same
The same temptation.
I don't want that in my life. Boromir, his dad, is the steward of Gondor and has been ruling Gondor in his absence. So to him, seeing this guy who's abandoned his city, he's a piece of shit. He
Yep.
thinks Aragorn is a piece of shit.
He's like, they don't.
And
we don't need a
Aragorn's
king.
like, no, you're a piece of shit because everyone's super greedy there and da-da-da-da-da. And they just butt heads the whole time. So this moment where Aragorn is saving him is a big deal.
Yeah.
So he fights Lurtz. Viggo Mortensen actually hits a dagger out of the way from hitting him, which was badass shit, and chops off Lurtz's head. Boromir dies but before he says, he calls Aragorn my king, which is a huge deal yet again.
and Aragorn says like, I will make sure our people doesn't fail.
Our people.
Yeah,
Which is,
he allows
again,
him to die sort of in peace with hope because
Yeah.
he was about to die in despair and like being
And
like, we're
to
gonna
me-
lose. You're gonna like. We're
He's
all
like,
gonna die.
I couldn't do what you did. I failed.
Yeah.
Right.
To me, this moment here is the reason Aragorn takes up the crown again.
Mm.
Is because he promised Boromir, I will make sure our people are okay.
Yeah.
Our people. So then Sam sees Frodo trying to escape back at the shore. Sam is like, I'm coming with you. Gandalf told me, don't you lose him, Samwise Gamgee. And so he's like, I'm going to try to get to you in the boat. I can't swim. So he's just going to drown.
And I don't mean to.
Sam's so loyal that he was like, I'm going to come out to you in that boat. And if I drown on the way, I tried. Frodo doesn't let that happen because Sam's the best friend anyone could have. And pulls him on the boat. And
Ship.
then
True.
the fellowship is now broken. So we see Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn on the beach. And
Legolas is like, they're on the other side.
we're not following them.
Merry
are
and
we?
Pippin were kidnapped.
Yeah. And as Legolas is saying, we're not following them, Aragorn's putting on Boromir's Gondor
Mhm.
bracers. And he's like, well, yeah, the fellowship's gone because they got to go their own way, but like, we can't let Merry and Pip die, right? And they're like, no. And he's like, let's hunt some orc. And
Yeah.
they are badass as shit. And then
Dark Knight run
all
away.
Badass.
that's pretty much, and then Sam and Frodo are like, here we go.
Staring
And-
at the direction
And
of
then that's
Mordor.
the end of the movie. How'd I do?
That was good.
Okay.
And then there are
So like
credits.
15 minutes.
And the credits go for like 20 minutes.
I just explained 4 hours worth of movies in 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'd say
Perfect.
so. Yeah.
I've skipped over, so I skimmed.
Yeah.
I got the gist of it.
Yeah.
That was a lot of information, and there's still so much more.
Oh my
Which we'll
God.
talk
So
about.
again, if you really haven't seen it yet, please pause and go watch it. It's just
Yes,
going to
they're
be more
incredible.
of what you just heard, but so much more.
And
It
now
sounds
here's-
long, but it does not.
The
it-
pacing
is
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing I will say, and Tom and I talked a little bit about this the other day. The 4-hour runtime of the extended edition does not feel like 4 hours.
No.
Not at all.
The pacing is like, I've watched the extended edition of The Hobbit, and that feels like 4 hours.
Mhm.
Because a lot of the shots are just like, ooh, look at this. Ooh, he's walking around here. But now he's walking around here.
Well,
And now he's walking here.
Oh.
But like, this is actual scenes, content. And I think the issue is Hobbit was 1 book.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This was 3 books, 3 movies.
I'll have to rewatch the Hobbits and just see
Extended
that. But
edition?
The thing that this film does really well, specifically, is what most films have problems with is exposition. A
Mhm.
lot of fucking exposition.
Yeah.
It's like Dark Knight Rises, 40 minutes of exposition. But with Lord of the Rings, it really kind of plays it fast and loose with characters. And so you just get a new party member and you don't have to know their entire history or their story or their origin. You just kind of have to know how they react with the character and what the
Mhm.
character's
Mhm.
intentions are. And so the thing is that these supporting characters end up becoming main characters throughout later dialogue.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
the sequences between Arwen and Aragorn, the sequences between Aragorn and Boromir, and then Aragorn and Frodo, and then Boromir and Pippin and
Or
yeah.
even just going to the locations, like they go to Moria, and then like you learn a lot more about Gimli while you're there.
Yeah.
But then I
and
mean,
You
like,
learn more about elves.
You learn more
from,
about elves.
Or wood elves specifically from
Right.
visiting
well, like
Galadriel.
you hear like Gimli talk to Frodo. It's like, stay close. He's like, there's a sorceress who like blah blah blah. It's like you could tell he has a fear of these things, and then like
Mhm.
you see that fear turn into admiration.
Yeah.
And so like there are things that they do really well that like draws the characters' intentions on their sleeves
Mhm.
without having them to do like long sequences like Guardians of the fucking Galaxy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the beautiful thing this film does too is there is a bit of exposition in the beginning, but it's so well done you almost don't know you're getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's I mean, the cool thing
The
that
first 15 minutes with Galadriel's voiceover,
Oh.
Yeah, well,
which Ian McKellen actually recorded as well.
Oh.
I
didn't see
think
that.
that's okay. And the thing that's funny is like, narration is technically like in terms like usually drawn as bad. But the thing is like this is stuff that's not like it's not narration throughout the entire movie.
No,
And
Well-
the thing is it really just lays a backdrop to here we are at Hobbiton.
that's the thing. Yeah, it's an adventure movie. Like it goes to so many different places that we're naturally curious about these new places, and they happen to tie in really well with the characters.
And it plays onto that like sense of like Indiana Jones feeling, where it's like
Yeah.
welcome to the world of the
Yeah,
blah, blah,
and
blah.
each new location is so uniquely aesthetically different that I think that's another one of those moments where you're just like, I do want to know. This looks so different from anything I've seen on the screen
Yeah.
so far.
And if the characters didn't help you land things, the score definitely would.
Howard Shore.
Oh.
Huge shout out to Howard
okay,
Shore.
so funny thing, it's not a qualm, but it was something that when I watched it again, like I'm really paying attention to. And the funny thing, throwback to one of our first ever streams we ever
Mhm.
did like on Instagram Live.
Yeah.
We were playing Shadows of Camelot and we played
Put on
the
that
Lord of the
Lord of the
Rings
Rings theme.
soundtrack.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice it then, but I noticed it when I watched it with Corey just a couple of days ago. The opening, the Rings theme sounds very much like the Mummy theme, and I know that the Mummy maybe might have come out either before or after. But the thing is, like, it's so funny because like when you watch this film later on out of context, not during 2001, 2002, you feel that there's so much connection between everything else that was made in that timeline.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it was like, it's
like
cool.
common themes.
Yeah,
I mean,
like-
when I say
The
themes,
Mummy
I
was
mean
90
like
something, wasn't it?
I think
But
I think it
there's
was 90s.
I think
I
so.
believe so.
there's just like a string portion of the
Yeah.
Ring theme that's very similar to how the sound of Anoxina Moon in
Oh,
in-
yeah.
It's very yeah. It's so similar. And I was like, but it's cool because those both have same thematic, as Josh was saying, the theme.
99 for the Mummy.
So it's cool. It feels right.
Yeah. The thing I like about it is how defined, and I think this is something I talked about in the Star Wars solo episode.
Star
as well,
Wars?
is that
Yeah.
these defined themes really dictate how you feel in a scene
Mhm.
and
Very
what the
much.
focus of the scene is. So there's one that I referenced earlier today when we were watching, and referenced the other day when we watched, was the scene where
You pointed
Frodo's
at me,
wandered
guys.
off on his own, and right before Boromir attacks him, it's the theme of the ring, because that's what's at work there, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like those little moments I really is why scoring is so important to me,
Mhm.
and why it in the Solo movie took such a toll on my score or whatever it was from enjoyment. Is like I really invest myself in that kind of stuff. It's really well done. Yeah.
I was gonna say take that further with the music, the sound.
I was gonna
sound
say.
design.
Oh yeah.
Sound design is like
Yeah, Josh tells me
all
the
the creatures, all the
sword
the,
stabbing.
all that stuff. But one of my favorite moments from a sound design standpoint is when the ring drops.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because to me, the ring sounds so heavy because the weight that it puts on the bearer. Like
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
So it's like, I know that it seems so cliche and so on the nose, but God, it's such a good moment
And the
because of
magnet
that.
under
Because
the
they could
floor.
have just went doo, 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 doo. Like it
Yeah.
just could have been like a clink, but it was
ding
like
ding ding.
boom.
Yeah.
Like
And that makes, I mean, that visual too, with where they put the magnet under the floor, so it really just when it falls, it just hits the ground
yeah.
and stays.
I thought you were going to be something that I saw was really specific that was like glaring at me was
Mhm.
the fight between Gandalf and Saruman. The entire sequence will not work without sound design.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just,
Like every time they throw a staff, you're whoop,
Mhm.
and then every time someone hit the floor, you heard bones crack. And so that's like a thing that's specific, like you, and there's hardly any soundtrack or audio. It's mainly just whips, screams,
it's almost
and then
melodic. Not melodic, but it's
Rhythmic.
rhythmic.
Yeah.
And
I don't
there
think
is
there
a
is
little bit of
music under that,
melodic.
is
yeah.
there?
I don't think so. If there is, it's super light, but the most you hear is the whooshing sound
Yeah.
or like the thumping sound of like of,
And even
of
their
design.
grunts and
Yeah.
like the
The
body
ring
hits.
wraiths.
The ring wraith
Yeah.
sound is great.
The
I mean, there's
screech.
also the absence of music that's important, right? So the
Yeah.
fight in Balin's tomb, there's no music for the first 3/4 of that fight.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's only
Which is
starts
huge.
when like Frodo gets stabbed.
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like that, I mean, the tension that builds on its own. I mean, from a sound design point of view, that must be kind of intimidating to be like, hey, by the way, we're not putting music over
Well,
this.
I mean, it
so
could
you have to be on point.
Yeah. I mean, that's it because music can, oftentimes when I'm in charge of post production for a film, I always tell them I want music because that could inform everything.
Mhm.
You never know, like if a music hit it'll just be the perfect sound design that you need for that current moment.
Right.
But less is more too. So having silence or having the fight scene just be the fight scene and that is the soundtrack of it is the fight.
Well, I mean,
I love the sound design of this
I want to
movie.
relate that sequence to The Dark Knight Rises, even though I talked smack about it. But like, it's the fight between Batman and Bane, the first fight. There's no music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing that I really like, it was just kind of daunting, is like, yeah, the music does inform the sequences. And so, like, if you hear heroic themes when people are fighting, it's like, yes, the heroes are doing this. Or it's like when the ring raids are like approaching the hobbits, and it's like, oh shit, they're about to die. And then it swells up to when Aragorn shows up. But then here in the tomb, it's no music. So it's like, you're kind of left alone in the silence
Yeah.
of just like
Mhm.
the pure,
Well, that's a good way to say that.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're left alone in the silence of the pure like terror of like you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know
Hmm.
which way this is going to turn. Is it
Right.
a heroic moment or is this
Because the
Oh,
music
shit
would spoil that.
yeah?
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
that
So-
sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of decision making to
Yeah.
be done. So,
Favorite parts?
well, do you want
Yes.
to do one quick thing? You know,
Yes.
just about the director specifically.
Oh,
Peter
yes.
Jackson, who directed. I mean, to me,
It's a
the
crime to go
first,
49 minutes without mentioning him.
yeah, I mean, the first movie that
I said
I
Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings in the beginning.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay.
We're good.
the first movie that I ever like heard that he did. I knew he did other films before that was Dead Alive, but its original title was called Brain Dead.
Mhm.
And it's a hokey horror film where a woman gets bit by like some kind of primate monkey thingy and starts eating people and things. And then he did Frighteners. So he did
He
horror.
also did like an adult version of like Sesame Street.
Did he?
What?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't know
it's
that.
like I saw it and it's like the Kermit character has like
Gonorrhea.
herpes or something like that. Like all it's just like what's going
They're
on
called Kermies.
backstage. Yeah. I saw it stoned. I
Nice.
couldn't
Yeah.
finish the movie because it was so like
Crazy.
Well, like,
Intense.
what?
I didn't know until like recently. Tom told me the other day that he was a horror director, and I like the first I had heard about Peter Jackson was Lord of the Rings because I was like fucking 11 at the time, and then of course like King Kong and da 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 after that. But watching it through that lens, you said that like 2 minutes in, he's like, oh yeah, he was a horror director, and I was like, oh shit. So I watched it, and I was like, of course, that's why this movie works so well. Like the first half of the movie is a horror movie.
Mhm.
It's about this normal guy who gets put into this situation where black riders are chasing him. He's trying to get killed at every turn. Like, it works so well. And it's interesting to see these typically quote unquote horror shots or corny horror shots where like someone just pushes a camera in, it's a tomb, actually work. And Tom, I forget how you put it the other day.
You keep saying that, and I'm like, I don't remember.
He
either.
said it
I'm
really
so
well,
good at saying
but he was
things.
saying that basically like horror directors
are ingenious or something. like
yeah, because they usually have to work on a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
And the things they come up with are like really amazing in-camera things.
that. They have to like instill a lot of emotion with very little,
And they have to be very inventive.
and
Yeah.
they're very crafty.
So
with,
give someone who's crafty, inventive, and we're used to working on a shoestring budget
with every money, all the money you can give them.
more money than God, and watch what they can do. And I think this is a testament to something.
I love
like
the
that.
story of that too, where he originally had drafted 2 scripts.
Mhm.
Like he was going to break up the 3 films into 2, or the 3 books into 2 films.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I think he went to like MGM first or something like that, and they just like straight up passed on it. And then
That lion said no.
they go to like the Lions and and then they went to New Line,
That's
and they're
where it
like,
ended.
no, this is stupid. It's 3 movies.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he was like,
And they
what?
and he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
And so I think, you know, that being the type of directing background he had, I think that's how he was able to be on the forefront of revolutionizing such things as motion capture and stuff
Mhm.
like that, because he
Broke
was used
huge
to like,
ground with that, with
Yeah.
Andy Serkis, and
well, he was
that's
used
more
to
the
being
next
inventive.
movie, but
Yeah.
I mean, I do want to speak specifically to the beginning. The beginning is like, it's just like not even Friday, Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street. It opens up with the like a sequence in the past of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So it's like it's showing like the death of Freddy, and it's like all of a sudden it's like showing like the death of Saruman and all the lore, and then like how this world is built upon it.
Yeah.
And so it's just like when you watch it again, everyone that's listening, literally watch it as if it's a horror movie, and you'll be like, oh, here's the zoom in, here's the rack, here's
well, I mean,
the,
that helps like build tension and build
Yeah.
suspense, and makes you care about the characters more because of that suspense that they're kind of trapped in. And then when you wrap it into the the fantasy element,
in a weird way, like this happened in 2001. You know, like you had these franchises coming out: Harry Potter, Star Wars is coming back with their Spider-Man. You know, Marvel movies are coming around, and then you have Peter Jackson, who's this horror film director who does this, right? And to me, I literally thought about this in my mind. I was like, this is like the perfect mistake almost of like you have this horror film director who has this giant property, giant budget, shooting it as if it was like a low budget thing,
Yeah.
but with all the proper resources. And it's like it only turns out really
when
well.
did Spider-Man come out? Because
Spider-Man came out 2002.
same kind of story.
next year.
Horror director.
Sam Raimi,
Yeah, Sam Raimi, horror director, who's just ingenious.
Josh.
Well, I mean, with a horror movie, you run the risk with some horror movies. You can run the risk of it being hokey and being like, oh, I saw the scare coming a mile away. And so if you have a good director who can somehow make those things still a surprise. So when we're watching something like this, I mean, let's be honest, fantasy also can get down that road where it's like, okay, it's kind of hokey.
Well,
And
Easily.
it's not like this. There were a couple of moments that I'm like, okay, this is kind of hokey. I love it, but it's kind of like, okay, it's kind of cheesy. But he just does a great way. I mean, even like the design of the creatures, like the orcs and everything, it's
Cave
very,
troll.
it's freaky. Like it's just like, yes, that should be in the hands.
Not
of,
Guillermo freaky, but freaky.
Yeah,
enough.
right. Yeah.
not hands on or eyeballs on
It's
hands,
like-
but
But like, and
Real.
I want to give some credit to the actors as well. I mean, you're talking about these are all A-list actors.
Yeah.
so
Big time.
to my young child self, I didn't know any of these people other than Flipper. And I was like,
Oh.
there's Flipper. That's all I knew. Like,
Oh my
I didn't know about
gosh.
Sir Ian McKellen. I didn't know about Orlando Bloom. I didn't know about Andy Serkis or
Well,
Christopher
no one
Lee.
knew about Orlando
No
Bloom.
one, yeah.
And I didn't know. I mean, I didn't realize that fucking Gimli is, Dr. Jones. And I was just
Yeah.
like, holy shit.
Really.
I don't know who any of this.
Anyway.
Oh my
but
goodness.
yeah.
This was a breakout. This was a breakout for a lot of them. a lot of their
These
careers.
people are all the reason this works, and I said this when we were watching it, is fantasy can be really cheesy and hokey. Warcraft movie.
Yeah.
But if you
But
get
true.
the actors who can commit to it and believe it themselves, like Ian
Well,
McKellen,
that
like
adore
Christopher Lee,
that adore the source material.
yeah, then you
And-
have something like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I will say, I think what happened as well, what Josh was saying, like sometimes some things could be a little hokey, and you're saying, some fantasy could be done bad. Like a lot of things that happened before this and after it. Like, again, this is kind of like the perfect timing where all these elements came in, motion capture, like set design, fantasy, huge, blocking like crane shots and then like helicopter shots for like walking. Those are all in really bad movies. Like if you like were to think about like a crappy straight to TV sci-fi movie, you could probably figure out these shots are in that film, but then also the way that Peter Jackson's able to use them works very well.
Also, to his credit, like those movies, it's like, okay, that's freaking like, that's like Southern California in the desert,
Yeah.
This is New Zealand.
Yeah.
Like, which is a fantasy movie onto itself. Like the landscape
Very
is
much
incredible. And so he had that kind of to go with, kind of for free in a sense, where he just had to kind of come in with either like 2 or 3 huts and then they can fill in the rest digitally or whatever. And you have this amazing
kind of like George Miller with
landscape.
Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, like, there's a shot that Legolas is on the boat and they're going towards the little short thing, and he's like looking around, and there's like this frenzied shot between the Uruk-hai and him, and that's a shot you see all the time in like bad sci-fi movies. And then like all the sequences with like the orcs or the Uruk-hai coming out, like you see that in bad horror movies, but like the way that this film does it so well, it just fits really well into it. So it's kind of like all the things like the random like focuses or the shoots, like whenever like
The quick push in where
Yeah,
it's
whenever,
really
like-
close to someone's face.
yeah, like whenever you see something happening or like it pushes into a skeleton in the tomb, like that's in a bad horror movie, but the way this plays out so well,
the
like,
weird like choppy frame thing. I don't know
yeah,
what to even
like
call that.
it's like
Gladiator.
it's so well put together. It's greater than the sum of its parts, 100%.
Yeah. Some credit to Peter Jackson and the cast.
Well,
Um,
it's a
Revolutionary film.
it's a soup where all the flavors come together.
I like that.
And
You got a nice
great,
roux.
because if you remove something, it's like some of those scenes that you're talking about that you can see in any kind of movie that's bad. Well, that might not have this flavor to it.
Yeah, 100%.
like you have acting, like the actors, like we've got this really kind of silly zoom in shot, but the actor, the way that
Sean
they commit
Bean
to
saying it's a tomb. It's
Yeah.
committed, and you're just like, oh shit, he's scared. Well, I'm scared.
Yeah.
We're scared.
Or you got like a really cool CGI Balrog, and then all of a sudden you have bad music.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this
That's
doesn't work.
that's the nice thing about him being that kind of director, and this is why like I only think Peter Jackson is like the only person who could have done this right, is that he had the budget that he had to do it in New Zealand, and he like was able to save money on some of the production enough to be able to like start 2 major studios, Weta Workshop and Weta Digital,
Yeah.
to make like all the practical stuff and all the digital stuff. And Weta Digital still makes movies. I think their last thing was Ghost in the Shell. I think it was their
Oh.
big, big last project or something like
Nice.
that. But yeah, like you have to start your own. Like forget like assigning it to ILM or
Yeah.
He started
which they
his
still
own
probably
fucking-
did.
Yeah,
to an
they still
extent.
probably did some small
Yeah.
stuff here and there.
But they had to start their own studio because of how many. I think Return of the King has 3,500 digital shots or something, or like
Yeah.
or
And you'd
composed
never
shots
know.
or something like that. Yeah, and
It's a nice thing. It's how it's used. Again, it's how
yeah,
it's used.
it's how it's used. Yeah.
I'm
Well,
gonna force this along to favorite parts here because we are at an hour already.
I was
And
just
I'm
gonna
gonna
say
force
what
it
a
on to-
workshop was like. I was a super giant fangirl of that shit because like
Mhm.
I don't remember the exact number, but they made like miles and miles of chainmail.
Oh yeah,
for
the
Lord of
people
the
who had
Rings.
to like actually with their hands
Yeah.
make chainmail.
They had to make
Jeez.
all of the weapons. They had to make all the shields.
Blacksmiths.
Like every year I've gone to San Diego Comic-Con, I always stop by their booth because like I'm really into metalsmithing and woodworking and all of that
Yeah.
stuff. So knowing how hard it is to make that stuff and how detailed they were, also for things that only blip on screen for like a second,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. The amount of
Mhm.
commitment they had to just
Yeah,
making sure everything
just-
looked authentic.
that hit me right in my feels.
in your feel
In my
spot.
feel spot where it's a like
and all the
forge.
spares they had to make in case one of them broke or something.
So going into favorite parts, I'll go and start. I think all my favorite parts have to probably be
7 miles.
7 miles. 7 miles.
We're
of
probably
chainmail.
going to be with any part with Aragorn. I think all his parts really gave me the gravitas
Yeah.
of what was going on. Like he's not the main character by any means. He's not probably my favorite character. I don't know. But like the points between him and Boromir, the points between him and Arwen, like shows like, again, like for me, like you can give me like the most fantastic world, but if you don't give me like a little bit of humanity story into it, I'm like, I don't give a shit.
Mm.
And so like him being like, I don't want power. I don't want Like, I don't trust men because they have weakness. I can't love you because you're going to give away your immortality for me. I'm like, dude, this guy is just like like Chow Yun Fat from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which probably came out later. But
Basically Jackie Chan.
and I was
don't want no trouble.
I want no trouble. And I was just like,
Where's the pool stick?
he is the ultimate martyr, you know? He's the ultimate, like, I have to sacrifice everything in order to like take the path of like least, you know, resistance pretty much.
I mean, he says to Frodo, in life or death, if I can protect you, I will. And I was
Yeah.
like, whoa,
You know?
that's dope.
And the cool thing is like he comes in
'Cause
like
it's possible.
Yeah.
he comes in 40 minutes into the movie, you know?
Yeah.
And like I think the funny thing about the movie as well is like halfway through the movie is when the fellowship is formed.
Yeah.
It's like Jesus. But no, I think any parts of Aragorn are like probably my favorite. Just any type of dialogue between them.
Cool.
Caitlin.
Caitlin.
I just feel like we've been talking a lot.
No,
And
it's
now I
fine.
wanna-
Just taking it in.
Yeah, I'm just soaking it in because like Lord of the Rings was huge for me. Obviously, if I get a tattoo, it's important.
No, just kidding.
So favorite parts for me, I was all about the Balrog. Surprise, surprise.
Mhm. Didn't see that coming.
Right?
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, every single one of her social media handles is
Boobs
at Boobs
McBalrog.
McBalrog. Yeah.
And it's because I dressed up in an outfit when I was all in a corset and I had a horned helmet on that looked like the Balrog. And they're like, ha, Boobs McBalrog. And I was like, that's amazing.
That's
Just call myself that forever.
that's me.
No, I like the things that, like, when there are tiers of like, man against man is terrifying, man against beast is terrifying, man against God is terrifying. Like,
Yeah.
the Balrog is kind of that otherworldly level of terror. Like,
Right.
there is no like good or evil. It's just like,
Well, up until that point, the most powerful thing you had seen on screen in current times, excluding Sauron in the flashback, is Gandalf.
right.
So to see him go up against this, you're like,
Mhm.
oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And he's nervous.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
It was great. And I also had a thing for the Witch King. Also, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, of course.
That
I
was
am
just-
no bro.
What? I am
You haven't
no
seen that
bro.
meme? Come at me,
No.
bro. I am no bro. And then she kills it.
Oh, you've ruined me. I love it. Oh my god.
Which
that's
King, which
great.
is not in this movie.
Yeah, we're talking about fellowship.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Spoilers for Return. God.
Although I will say it has actually been a really long time since I watched the movies, and now I think my favorite part to date is Frodo looking at the river and then like looking at the ring in his hand and being like, "Well, fuck."
Crying. Crying.
Here I
Yeah,
go.
he's like, you know.
I wish I
he-
never got the ring.
Well, the whole time he was saying, I wish I never got the ring, and like, so this is such a burden, and like, fuck, I have to do this. But
None of it
that's-
was his choice.
None of it was his choice, but that's like the moment.
Good on him.
That's the moment where he's like, okay, we're doing this, like for real. Like,
Yeah.
I'm doing this. Not everybody else is doing this for me. I'm going to do this. So that is now my favorite moment, I believe.
I like that.
The resolve.
Yes, the
Yeah.
resolve.
Ollie Oxenfree,
I'm gonna give Arwen's
of course.
little piece, a little bit of love. I think she's probably my favorite character. Yeah, I'll say,
Of course.
favorite character in Fellowship.
Well, which part?
It's
Come and
the-
claim him?
Yeah, it's that part.
Okay.
Like
If you want him,
total badass.
come and claim him.
Just like the urgency of needing to get Frodo to Lothlorien, no, not Lothlorien, to Rivendell,
Mhm.
and just her like racing across, like juking out the guys in the forest, and
She
then,
gets a little cosmetic
getting-
scratch
yeah, she gets that scratch from the
Teeny,
branch,
teeny.
which is like,
just to be sexy.
yeah, you need it.
You need to have one of those
yeah.
sexy scratches.
Sexy scratches.
That is an action hero trope. I'm going to say that right
It
now.
is.
Like
That
everyone
is
has to have a
true. I
cut
love
right here
that.
on the
Sorry.
The
cheekbone.
badass one down your eye.
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
just
I have
exactly.
one of those. No, I literally
On your
do.
face?
Like it goes, you can't really tell anymore. Part of my eyebrow used to be missing. And I had a
Okay,
huge
Dothraki.
scar that goes down all the way and like
Dothraki.
into my eye too. Like,
Oh,
Damn.
wow.
yeah,
The
Dang.
coolest scar I have is across my chest when my cat got scared by a bag.
yeah.
I have one on my eyebrow too. I'll show you, but it's like it's too close to the edge, but it kind of.
Everyone, welcome to the Scar
It's not
episode
growing
of Nerd On.
Scar on the Scarcast.
Yeah.
My scar came from a
All
cat.
those
Scars
all
are
those
us.
His name
scars
was
are welcome.
Bubba, and I tried to pet him when I was 2.
We're having Alexander Skarsgård.
But then
Sorry, anyway.
it ending with her summoning the river spell.
The River Guardian.
So
Yeah.
cool.
The horses.
The horses.
It's a
And
bunch
they
of
were
fucking
like,
horses.
Nay, bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Water.
You shall nay
No.
pass.
Come and claim him.
Josh.
And like sorry. And she like showed like when her dad saw the movie, he was like,
Aerosmith?
is that your Steven
I don't
Tyler
wanna
was
close
like,
my
is
eyes.
this your like she dropped her voice like an entire octave for the entire
Wow.
movie
Oh.
to make her voice like that.
Whoa.
Yeah, if you watch her in That Thing You Do, it's way up there.
And Jersey Girl.
Oh.
Jersey Girl. It's Jersey Girl.
The Great White Trilogy. Or the White North Trilogy.
My favorite parts. All of them. No.
I like the movie.
I like the movie. No, my favorite parts. I mean, it will always be the most the toppity tip top. You shall not like that whole like
Gangster
little
as
scene.
fuck.
There's a reason that line has stuck around to people who
Yeah.
haven't even seen the movie.
Because it's fucking baller. The next, Aragorn, because I'm gonna say it, he's my favorite character and my man crush.
Yep.
When he
All our
after
man
he gets
crushes.
done with Frodo, he
looks
gets
at the
the sword starts turning blue.
Sting.
Sting starts turning blue, and the orcs are coming up the hill. And he just like he pulls out his sword and he's just kind of like walking towards this
That little prey moment.
massive.
That's
horde.
actually so BuzzFeed did a thing where it's like they rated like sword fights in movies. That's not a prey thing. It's a respect to my enemy because you will die.
Yeah, cool.
So
Yeah.
Dig it.
Whoa.
Oh, one more. One
Yeah,
more. Sorry.
please. No,
when
please.
Boromir basically saves a cat.
Oh.
And he like
A cat?
have you never heard that term?
save the cat.
Save the
Save
cat.
a cat?
I've never
It's a
heard
script
that.
writing term where it means you
That's why.
basically save something so that you win audience affection.
Oh.
So like Superman saving a cat in the beginning of a movie, you're like, oh, he's a
Now
good
I
guy.
understand. I was like, where's the
He
cat?
saved a cat.
I don't remember.
Metaphorical
There
cat.
was
kitty
one
cat.
cat in the
10th member of the
in
Fellowship.
Prancing
in
Horse.
Bree,
In
the
Bree.
prancing pony,
The Prancing Pony.
Oh.
Prancing Horse.
Mr. Underwood.
So yeah, he gained some brownie points by doing that.
Yes. Merry
and he just kept going. Like he
Even
He's-
with 2 arrows in his body.
yeah, and he just right to the bitter
3.
end.
He
Yeah.
stops after
Okay.
3. 3 is like, okay.
Okay, I'm good.
I'm
Oh,
done.
that last one hurt.
Why didn't you guys run?
That would be my second favorite moment would be what happens afterwards, which is his spoilers death scene.
What? Wait, he died?
It's Sean
We watched the
Bean,
same-
guys.
Sean Bean.
Yeah,
Come
he's a
on.
walking spoiler.
But
alert.
I think that's a very potent moment, like you said. It's what most
Yeah,
likely made
that's really
Aragorn
good.
decide to
Again, all
like,
the
fight for
Aragorn scenes
man.
are really good.
But it's like seeing him like immediately redeem himself, save the life of the halflings, like selflessly do this, and showing Aragorn that there is something in saving men, you know.
yeah.
there is weakness, but there is also courage.
Right. And that's when because like a couple scenes throughout it, Boromir's like, we should do this together. We're both like son of men. You should trust me. We should go do this together. And
We're
like,
bros, bro.
Aragorn's like, I wouldn't go within 1,000 leagues or whatever he says.
Yeah.
And then in that moment, he kind of like he has a moment where he realizes that this is worth. Maybe I should be. You know.
Yeah.
He starts on that king's journey or whatever. it
Yeah.
is.
Well, I think he kind of realizes that the people of Gondor are different than he had imagined
Right.
as well.
Mhm.
If they're willing to lay
There's
down their
something to
life.
save.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Core pal.
Where do I begin?
Gandalf, and Gandalf.
Well, the entire Mines of Moria sequence,
Mm.
from start to finish, to
Oh,
me,
yes.
like from when they get to the door
Mm-hmm.
to when they leave, is
Bella.
phenomenal filmmaking, in my opinion. I am on the edge of my seat the entire time I watch that to this day, and I've seen it. Caitlin, you said you hadn't watched it in a while. I start every New Year, every January 1st, watching one of the movies. This year
Oh.
it was Fellowships. That means next year Two Towers, Return of the King. Da, 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 da.
Wow.
Everyone
you're
stay tuned next year.
Way more of a nerd than I thought you were.
So, and then I watch it throughout the year with like Tom and stuff. So,
Shout out to Tom.
that whole sequence to me is wonderful.
you.
Mhm.
I really like basically anything in Bree as well. I think is really fascinating. to
Or
me.
everything in Hobbiton and everything
Hobbiton
in
is a whole
Great. Oh, there's
and,
also the Wood Elf scene with Gladriel, and there's the
then
exposition at
there's
the
that
beginning of
one
the
mountain
film.
scene.
No, but in reality, like the whole Bree scene is great with finding out who Strider is and
Well,
I
question.
love
after Legolas, fucking outs Aragorn as like he's the blah blah blah. Pippin and blah 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 still call him Strider
because that's what they know him as first, and that's what he identifies with more than Aragorn, son of.
because he kind of rewrote that
he's
name.
a Dunedain ranger at this point. He's no longer of that quote unquote of that bloodline. And then anything with Gandalf. My true favorite moments, and I had to stop the film and point them out to Tom. Yeah, Ian McKellen has this way of portraying exactly what emotion he's feeling with a single look.
Yep.
There's one moment where Frodo says
Because he pretends he's a wizard.
he's pretending. So Ian. But there's this moment where the couple of moments is the first one is when Frodo says, "I will take it," and he just has this look where his heart breaks. And you just know Gandalf at this moment, who's been vying for we can't ask any more of them. They've done more than we could have ever imagined.
One of these other guys or fools should be able to handle it.
And at that moment, you're just Gandalf is well, I'm going with him. I'm not gonna fucking send Frodo out alone. The other one is when all the goblins leave and everyone's celebrating. And Ian McKellen has this look of fuck the Balrog. The one thing I didn't want to see down here is finally here.
Roll a d20. You rolled a 1.
So
you rolled a 1.
those little
Roll for peeing your pants.
micro moments are badass to me. And then of course, little things like Legolas walking on top of the snow when everyone is chest deep in it, or
The reason behind that is because he's just light-footed.
he's an elf.
He's an elf. They
They're-
get to do whatever they
They're
want
magical beings.
most of
Okay.
the time.
Well, I want to
They
see if
can
there's
just do
a
whatever they want.
metaphysical reasoning for it.
The badass wizard fight is also
Hollow
great.
bones.
But my favorite moments are those looks, and then anything in Moria, I would say.
I would also say, to add on, I think it's any part with Gandalf when he starts getting pissy.
Badass wizard mode,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Do not take me for some conjurer of cheap tricks.
Because you get those hints, and I think that's why the "You
trying
Shall
to
Not
help
Pass"
you.
is such a huge moment on the bridge, is because throughout the beginning of the movie, you get a few of those glimpses.
Well, because he's a happy-go-lucky dude who smokes weed and just chills.
and he doesn't really do
Yeah, that line, "Your love of the halfling's leaf has slowed your mind."
You don't really see
He,
magic.
I'm not
per
a
se.
stoner dad.
He vapes, bro. But
But you don't see magic necessarily.
Yeah.
Until that moment.
But it's kind of you don't let it get too hot, and all of a sudden you just
get
see
those
these little
hints.
moments. You're like, oh shit, don't piss him off. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit, he's got to go.
Or when he yells at Boromir in Rivendell.
Yeah. So you see those little moments where you're like, oh fuck,
That's another one of my favorite
I want
ones.
to see him pop off, baby.
Because fucking Elrond gets super pissed, and he's like, "No one's spoken that language here ever." And Gandalf looks at him and goes, "I do not ask for your forgiveness."
Wait,
whoa!
real quick. What is that language? Is that
It's the black speech. It's
Black speech.
so? It's the
He
ring.
literally
It's
just
language of
gestured
Mordor.
to my
It's the
ankle.
ring language.
Mordor. Yeah.
So wait, does that language invoke the power that Gandalf can use, or is that just another type of power?
It's basically its own thing.
It's its own thing.
Well, I mean,
The power he's using where it's getting everything dark is kind of the same shit he uses on Bilbo, where he's like, "Do not take me for some conjurer of cheap tricks,"
Yeah.
and everything kind of shadowy. But essentially, yeah, if you speak it there, it's kind of like a Voldemort situation.
I'm just trying to figure out if it's a hard magic system or a light magic system, where it's if he invokes language from this, language, from the Mordor language or the Elvish language, does it invoke?
I don't think
different
it's
type of
directly
magic?
tied to the actual.
Okay.
No,
speech.
it does.
No,
the
it's-
actual speech does affect. If you watch the scene, it affects Elrond
Elrond, yeah.
and it affects Frodo.
Mm.
So pretty much,
It's but it's like if he said Voldemort. It's like,
Yeah.
God, no, don't say that.
Just that scar burn. Ah!
yeah, it's like that. So
it's like
and Tolkien made those languages up.
yeah, and then he named it Mount Doom. So what are you gonna do? He ran out of
I'm
creativity.
speaking Doomish.
Aragorn, Boromir, Mount Doom.
He's invented 2 different languages, calls Evil Mountain Mount Doom. So yeah, that's what it is.
was it 2? I thought he made. No, it was 2.
I was just guessing. Because he's got Dwarvish, Elvish,
And the
Black speech.
speech.
So 3.
Orc.
Favorite
characters.
Well, I mean, I said mine.
Aragorn. Mine. You want me to do a different one
said
besides
Arwen.
Gandalf?
I mean, yours is Gandalf no matter what.
Yeah. So besides
For
Gandalf,
variety.
Why?
specifically,
what if his favorite character is Gandalf?
It
He
is.
literally suggested it.
I
Don't
suggested
yell at
it was
me.
me. I said besides Gandalf because Gandalf is my all-time 100 all day.
Inside of
so
Fellowship.
Inside of Fellowship,
Yes.
if I have to just assess their actions within the Fellowship, it would be I think
Gandalf. No, I'm just kidding.
I think it's Gandalf.
That's fine.
Oh, no shit.
That's fine.
No, it would have to be. Yeah, it would have to be Aragorn for sure.
Aragorn plays the mysterious hero.
Yeah.
So it's really, and he has all the Aragorn ex machina like parts.
Yeah.
He literally saves Frodo.
Honorable
he
mention
saves
Legolas.
everybody.
Because that scene where orcs are running by and he's just picking them off
It's like
in a single shot. He's just,
the shot is full of, and he just
and then turns and shoots the one that's attacking Aragorn in the back.
yeah.
That moment right there, all day.
I really like Gandalf a lot. Just because of how badass he is. He would probably be one of my favorite characters. But like, it's tough because like with Boromir and Aragorn, like they work really well together. And that's the thing. Like Aragorn is really good by himself, but Boromir is really good because of Aragorn. Because Aragorn shows everything that Boromir's not. And Boromir is someone that like wants to be there for his people and wants to be there for the throne. And Aragorn has done nothing but put away all that stuff. And so Boromir sees like he's the chosen one. He's the one who's supposed to do all this stuff. But yet he's the one that's dishing out all the responsibility or like leaving the responsibility.
Yeah.
Where I'm trying to use the power for good, even though he's underestimating the power of the ring.
Yeah.
So like I really like Boromir. And throughout the entire time, I'm like, Boromir's a fucking good ass guy.
Yeah.
He's just a guy though. It's like, so he's getting like possessed by the ring. So it's like, it's not his fault. It's not his fault. But he's like, you know, teaching the hobbits how to fight. He's like saving whoever he can, like whenever he can. So it's like he's
doing his best.
He's great. But the thing is that he plays the redemption card. Like he has to have like that arc where he has the redemption. So like I said this when I first watched this with Corey. I was like, when the movie ended, I was like, is that it? Because
After 4 hours.
well, because no one had a real arc, right? Like everyone kind of had this certain point. The only kind of point that was like Frodo and Sam who were like, all right, let's do it. At the very end, they kind of say like, we have to do these things, but you don't see it come to fruition, which,
Yeah.
you know, makes it feel like, oh, this has to be a trilogy film or like a 2-part film. But Boromir has a full arc.
you get his the benefit of Fellowship is that you get the end of his arc
Yes.
in Fellowship.
Yeah, you get his end of his arc, which is really, I think it's great. But then I really like Gimli because he's super fun.
yeah.
Like he would be like, he probably, if we were all fucking transported Middle Earth, that would be probably me. I'd be like, I'm going to destroy all the shits. And like Leroy Jenkins, you know, just attacking everything.
Oh my
That's who
God.
I would be. I was just like, let's go in. I ain't afraid of shit, baby.
If I remember correctly, and of course I forget his name, the guy who played Gimli, like when he was
geez.
using, I know I'm an awful person, I'm sorry, but when he was doing all the stunt fights with the axe, they were like, okay, just, you know,
Lightly.
go light.
Oh, yeah.
There's an axe, and he like wailed on him. Like I don't think he seriously injured anyone, but he was like,
Well, he was
wailing
already
on
using
people with an axe.
prosthetics, and he was having allergic
Wasn't his
reactions.
costume
and
John Rhys
really
Davies.
heavy?
could
John Rhys Davies
could
yes.
barely see, and so he was like, whatever. I'm so fucking uncomfortable.
They'll
'Cause
be
he,
fine.
he was allergic to the prosthetics throughout.
Yeah.
For 3 years, he
Oh.
wore prosthetics that just made his
I'm
eyes
surprised
puff up.
his-
If you watch, that's why his eyes are different sizes in all
the
the
time.
scenes.
Oh my god.
But to me, it added to his like, he's like this,
Character.
he's a dwarf man. He's not supposed to be pretty. He's supposed to be like gangster as fuck and kill people.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, do that shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, my axe. I'm like, dude, this motherfucker right here. Like, I want him in my corner. But like, so I mean, like,
Doesn't he pick up Balin's axe too in the
I
tomb?
think so.
I think he leaves
Um,
there with his cousin.
Luckily, he because of they had like size doubles. Luckily, he didn't have to like run around in too much.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
but I mean, just all around character wise, it's probably Aragorn.
Mm.
Just because
Mhm.
he has all that stuff.
You were Aragorn, right, Josh?
Yes, I was.
Ollie?
Um,
Arwen.
I mean, it's who?
Arwen.
He said
Arwen.
Arwen.
Don't
In
spoil next
Fellowship.
week's or the next episode.
Yeah.
But Arwen is huge because it's kind of a cheat because it's Arwen and
Eowyn.
Aragorn
Oh,
In
Aragorn?
Fellowship.
and Aragorn
Fellowship.
The Fellowship. 'Cause he's shipping.
because the
Samdo?
Yeah, I mean that's why it's a cheat. Is because the ship. I'm like it's like the greatest love story.
Yeah.
Arwen.
It's like her giving up her immortality to have one lifetime with the man.
Then all the ages of the world.
I like that though. She's like, that's my choice to have.
Yeah. Like,
was
I love that
yeah,
story.
It is your choice.
But when he
bitch.
says you can't give this to me, and she goes, yeah, I can.
It's my
I can
choice.
give it to whoever the fuck I want.
I mean, it's greatly expanded in Return of the King,
Don't repress me.
but it's you get a little bit of that here, and I think most of it is actually extended, isn't it? I can't remember.
Not most of it.
Not most of
but
it.
I don't
Okay,
think so.
like them in
Like
the in the forest or whatever. But
Yeah.
So just exactly half.
I mean, honestly, yeah.
Not
was
most
fit-
of it. We'd probably say 49%.
Yeah.
100%.
Is extended.
But if I had to get away from my crushes, I would say Boromir.
Boromir, yeah.
Nice.
Boromir's really good.
For the same reason.
Balrog.
Actually,
With zero dialogue.
Gandalf.
When I
a cave
first saw
troll.
the movies, I had this is the order in which they happen. I had the biggest crush on Legolas first,
Yeah, it makes sense.
and then the Witch King. Much harder than Legolas.
On the Witch King?
Witch King.
That's the third movie.
Who king?
Yeah, I know.
Which
but
one?
Like any of the Nazgul, Witch King
Gotcha.
comes later.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay.
But
I did.
like I don't know why that was a thing, but it was a thing.
You don't have to explain it. Just let it
I
happen.
mean, their presence was
It did.
always
Don't
So
king,
don't
don't king
worry.
shame yourself.
Shh, don't speak.
their presence was always like you felt it.
Yeah.
Like this is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're terrifying and horrible, and that was great. I can't really think of like a normal
Member of the
main
Fellowship.
character that I
That's
like.
you don't have to. It's your character.
Yeah, I know.
Your favorite.
But it still isn't like I like a crush on like the Nazgul is not the same as me being like I like them. I was just
Balrog?
like
They've also got. I mean,
I
they've
did
also got
really
a.
like the Balrog
Oh,
like
yeah.
a lot.
They've got a
Gandalf,
fascinating
then.
story with them being being eternally like drawn to the ring, and they're kind of tied to it, and they can't do anything about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So I mean, there's a lot going on.
It's
there.
tragic as
And
shit.
then when you wear the ring, you see the wrinkly bodies.
You see that, yeah,
Ooh.
wrinkly old men, country
Yeah.
club bodies.
Young me didn't really think about that part.
So that's like when you take off the beer goggles when you put on the ring.
Yes.
Like, whoa! Went to bed with the 10, woke up with the 2.
Ooh,
Sorry.
Hard
Take this
pass.
back off. Just leave the cloak on,
Yeah.
please. Yeah, I don't.
We could still party, just leave the cloak on.
Oh boy.
I wear my robe.
Lord of the
and
Rings
wizard
equivalent
hat.
of putting a bag over his head.
Butterface.
Oh,
But her.
But his
Oh,
face.
but her
The
whole body.
Nazgul or Butterface.
I don't know.
But his face.
If I had to really pick one, it's probably Pippin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because he's so haphazard and he gets in so much trouble.
I mean, he agrees to be in the Fellowship without knowing where the fuck they're going.
yeah.
You need people
Honestly-
with intelligence on this adventure.
What are we going?
Quest.
I
Thing.
kind of chose it because I kind of feel like him a little
Like,
So-
Late.
where are we going?
bit. Yeah, that I feel like that's me through a lot of my life.
That
So
rules you out, Pip.
yeah, Pippin. I'd
I
say.
love that he
Yeah.
nods real quick for a second when he
Is it,
says that.
mhm.
Oh wait, hold on.
Yeah. Oh, when that rules you out? That rules you out, Pip.
Yeah. And you're like,
Wait.
wait.
Do we want to go open? This is like our mega anniversary extended episode. So do we want to go with favorite musical like pieces or parts?
The Hobbit. I mean, sorry.
Yeah.
The Shire.
The
The
Shire.
Shire theme.
I would say the Shire. That's my answer too.
I don't know. Honestly, my favorite song is Gandalf dying song.
Wow.
Way to break my heart.
Yep.
Sarah
sorry.
McLachlan's in it.
In the arms of an angel.
Yes, as he's falling in the arms of the angel.
All right, this is Sarah McLachlan episode. For me, it's probably The Ring.
I was going
The
to say
Ring
the same
sequence
thing.
because it's well, it like the Shire feels very happy. It feels me like okay, cool, we're in this place, but it like
It
Might
doesn't.
have
listen
no
to it when I
soul.
edit.
It doesn't get me anywhere.
Yeah.
But with the Rings, I was like, what's gonna fucking happen? It's like I don't
Tom
know.
lives in a dark
Oh,
place.
that like that hero shot when you see the Fellowship for the first time, they're like, yeah, we're gonna go do it.
Yeah,
We're gonna be
that's good.
successful. You see them coming over the ridge on that one shot.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
The Fellowship theme is pretty great too.
So good.
Bum,
Bum.
bum, bum, bum.
Yeah,
That would be
that's
my
good.
Next.
Yeah.
Um,
The sounds that like progress the feel and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, they give a like we were saying earlier. It's like the scene that Corey you brought up where Frodo's talking by himself and the Ring theme is playing. You know what's going on.
something's gonna happen, and then
Yeah.
Boromir shows
and
up,
it's
and you're like,
it's
"There it is!
story, It's story related.
This fucking guy carrying sticks." That brings us to Qualms, guys.
Qualms.
Lord of the Qualms.
Can I
That's
say?
Tom.
I want to say one thing real quick. The thing that one of your favorite parts with Gandalf, where he's talking about like life and destiny, and all that shit. He
Yes.
literally tied in destiny and fate in the same thing, which I got really irritated about because it's like it makes sense, but I was just like, fuck you, because like he says like things happen and we can't foresee it. That's like fate, but then your choice to do that kind of corrects itself. I'm like, but that's destiny.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, Gandalf, you're so wise, and that doesn't make sense to us mortals.
That's probably my favorite quote in all of Lord of the Rings.
It's a really smart line.
it's the
It's super smart.
All we have to do is decide.
Yeah, which
And we're giving
that Mewtwo shit. But Qualmy Qualms. So into this point, I remember as a kid, and I even asked Corey, and I think about it today, the part when Aragorn and Boromir have their part when Boromir is like, oh shit, it's just a broken handle. And then Aragorn and Arwen talk and it's like, you're scared of your past and all that stuff. And then it goes into that flashback of them being like, you can't give your immortality for me and I love you. Do you remember the first time we met? I, for the life of me, can never like adjust that like that's a flashback. There's no sound cue, there's no visual cue other than a new establishing shot. Then I was like, did they just walk outside? Because it's the same location, except it's outside. It's an exterior shot. So I was like, is this a flashback or not?
It's not a flashback.
It's no.
He's in a different outfit, and then the next morning he's in the same outfit he was talking to her last night. And so it doesn't, and it kind of didn't feel like the scene ended. And it just starts with like, we're around to talk about the ring. I was like, was that a dream? Was that later that night? Was that earlier that night? Was that another night long
My
time
assumption
ago?
was that it was just late in the night.
Yeah.
Isn't it for sure a flashback, right?
I thought it was
No.
flashback. I always thought it was
Is it?
flashback.
Yeah, I thought it was
When he
flashback.
gets the thing?
Well, because she's wearing white. Because when she rescues him, she's wearing green, and then when she's talking to him, she's wearing green, and he's wearing like greenish. He's wearing like greenish, grayish.
Kind of a dreamy filter over it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's got a soft focus.
barely.
I know.
But the
Go
thing
back
is,
and
like,
see if he's
all-
wearing
but-
the necklace beforehand.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like he's wearing a necklace, or he gets the necklace. But the thing is, like the later sequences in Galadriel's forest, everything has that like hue,
glow.
Dreaming.
and so I'm
Yeah.
like,
The
I was-
film language of that.
it's tough.
Was it?
It was tougher for me because I was like, I don't know if this is a dream or not.
Yeah.
And so that's my one of my big qualms for that. There were like small stupid goofs. You'd see on IMDb like, his hand's here when they cut back. It's that. I don't really call those like problems or anything like that.
No.
But
Continuity.
I think those are to
That's
show.
just what happens when you make a movie.
That's huge. And you have 1,000 shots in 1,000 locations. You know what was weird? Gimli knows about the mines of Moria, right? He likes this place, right? His family lives there.
Yeah.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know how to get in then.
Huh?
But he doesn't know how to get in
No.
to his family's place.
Uh,
That was a little. I was like, but why doesn't he just?
he's
know?
never been.
But he knows of it, and he knows
of
his
it.
family lives there.
Yeah. He knows
Yeah.
Balin is there.
That was
gonna
that.
say you don't have a key to your
Maybe it was like
aunt's
a
house,
back
Yeah,
do
that
you?
was. I mean, I have a key to my family's house, so
Yeah.
it's like. But another thing with the troll fight, which I'm literally trying to remember as much as I can. I don't remember a lot of Gandalf in it.
It cuts to him a few times. He's killing
But he's killing with the
Orcs.
sword, right?
Sword.
a sword and a staff. Yeah.
Because I
Doesn't
barely
really
see
use
him using
magic.
the staff.
He doesn't.
And the
He,
front-
he does this thing. It's called in the
It's
video
like the
games
Force.
Orc-Bane,
Yeah.
and it's where he swings both
Okay.
the same
that's it.
direction. He swings them like over his head and swings around the staff over the sword or the sword over the staff, depending on which way he's swinging. And it just basically like beats the shit out of.
Knocks him back.
And so that was like a little like I was like, but couldn't he just handle that shit? Couldn't he handle all that shit? Because he's a really powerful wizard. And I'm like, he's not obviously he
Doesn't
can't
work that way.
He's not Gandalf ex Machina and can't handle all of it. But like, I feel like you would see some orcs like flying
probably part of it.
that's not by the troll because
Right.
most of the orcs that were flying were because of the troll, not Gandalf. And it was weird because you see him tossing Saruman around like he's fucking like last week's dirty laundry, but none of these
we
orcs.
also
were.
don't really fully understand how the magic in that world works.
Which I would almost say
You
as a
do in the books.
which I would almost say as a qualm in the movie, it's a soft magic system where you don't know all about it and there's
Yeah.
not certain rules, but you have to take that away because that's what the rules of the film is. And so
Right.
I'm like, I don't.
It's
call-
used for
call
the
it.
wow moments.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
used for that point. So I'm not going to put that as a qualm.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's
legit.
Corey? No qualms.
Josh.
For a second, my brain went, I was your qualm?
No. I honestly like if I were to think about it, I really don't think I have any. It's the reason I enjoy a 4-hour cut of a movie over the 2-hour cut.
Yeah. I mean, we watched it before we recorded today, and we got to the end, and I was like, "Yep, didn't feel like 3.5, 4 hours,"
No.
and that's what I appreciate
I was
about
trying
it.
to think. I think there's casting in later movies that bug me a little bit, but in Fellowship specifically, I've got nothing.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I got.
Oh, I have another qualm button
Me?
later.
You.
Yes, you, Ollie.
I am the qualm. No. My gripey gripe.
Oh
Just
my
kidding.
God. Get out of here.
Uh,
No, I think if I had to pick one, if I had to search really hard, it would be I don't love the sort of step frame, whatever that method is.
What's that?
The like choppy, like
Oh, when the Urukai and Legolas are looking at each other. Yeah.
I don't.
The only cinema
reason-
verite feel.
Right. I don't know what I'm supposed to get from that. Is it like a visceral thing?
The sense of it is supposed to be that you're feeling what they're feeling at the time, and you're looking like how they look. Like they're kind of looking at each other.
So they're not. They don't.
They're not
don't
clear.
Have a clear vision.
They're not clear exactly.
So, okay.
So it's supposed to feel frenzied.
Yeah.
Like
They use it in Gladiator.
and also they use it a lot in Born Supremacy. And Born Supremacy did it really well. And this one, like I understand.
It takes me out. That's the only thing that I don't like. Like I get that and I can appreciate it, but it always takes me out a little bit. Where I'm like, why? Just be smooth. Like I want.
Okay, David Fincher over here.
But yeah, that's literally it.
Okay.
Karen,
Oh man, I just don't have any.
I like the movie.
I like the movie. Well, I can't really think of it in the context of like a film that I could pick apart though. Like it
That's
was such a big part of my life. And I told you guys long ago when you said that
The pyramids are still young.
we mentioned Lord of the Rings, and I was like, you guys are gonna learn a lot about me for this. This movie is exceedingly closely tied. It basically was there through all of my mental illness.
Oh.
Like I had really severe manic depression and like anxiety, and there's probably a laundry list, but my doctors were in Indiana, so I'm sure they didn't catch everything. So Lord of the Rings was kind of, and it still kind of is, like I feel like
a warm blanket.
Like a warm blanket. It is my warm blanket.
It's
but
the cool side of the pillow.
yeah, well, and the reason
that
I'm
sounds
so
really good right now.
Yeah.
I know it's warm in here.
A warm blanket that
A warm
is
blanket.
knitted by elves.
Yeah.
Sort of, except the reason that I latched to it so strongly is because the way I felt, a lot of the creatures in it,
Oh wow.
like the Balrog and the Ring Wraiths and Sauron, all of those things were like, oh, that's what's happening inside of me right now.
Oh wow.
Like, I'm sorry if I sound a little emotional. It was
No,
like
that's
10
okay.
years of
No,
life.
it's okay.
No.
And the reason I have the tattoo is because I got this when I was 19. I started watching the movies and being into that stuff when I was like 11.
Yeah.
And my depression stuff started when I was like 10. So this was like the big manifestation for me to understand what depression was, like how it
Different
worked.
faces of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the different faces of it. And
Identifying
then, like,
it, essentially.
identifying it, and also like the way that the Fellowship and Frodo kind of taking this burden and finally getting rid of it.
Yeah.
That was kind of like therapeutic in a way.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that this was like, over 9 years.
Yeah.
And I got this tattoo when I was 19. So I wanted this tattoo like when the first movie came out. My parents were like, haha, okay, Caitlin. And I was like, no, you don't understand.
No, you don't understand. I'm getting this.
You don't understand. This is happening.
If you need me to write it down and sign it, I will.
Yes, exactly. So like when I got this tattoo, it was when I was like, okay, I think I'm good. I think I've like, this was my...
Would you say you came full circle?
I closed... I finished the chapter of my book
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I got to turn
and
to a new page.
lived happily ever after.
Yes.
Bilbo Baggins.
Till the end
I
of his
think I
days.
finally found an ending for my book.
Yeah.
And
But-
she lived happily ever after.
And I could go into great detail about, how all of those things came into play.
Yeah.
But like, I can't find qualms for something that meant so much to me.
Yeah.
Of course.
And I think that's part of it too, where it's like, it's not just a film. We kind of talk about films on a weekly basis or whatever, and we pick it apart, and it's what it is. But I think there's certain films. I think this one's one of them, huge one for me as well, where it just stands for so much more than just like pictures going at 24 frames per second.
Yeah.
With some music and
You hear
some
that, Peter
sound.
Jackson? Not
Yeah,
60
no.
frames.
Not
it's
60
it's a
frames.
classic
So much more
example
than that.
of like greater than the sum of its parts. Like
Yeah.
that's to the nth degree.
I did have another qualm actually.
Yeah.
Oh my God, of course you do.
Well, this is actually it's tough
dead to me.
because it's part of its DNA, and it's kind of like, why do you show this when you know that that's part of it? And it's the fact that it is the first part of the trilogy, and it just doesn't have a real ending to
Yeah.
me
Mhm.
because it has to continue. Like,
Well, they
no-
basically filmed them. They were
Oh.
basically, it was a 3-year long thing, and so we all
like
knew
if they
that it was
never
gonna be
made
3.
another Lord of the Rings after that, I'd be like, the fuck happened?
Yeah,
Yeah.
luckily they shot
But
it
we
all at the same
knew.
time.
Yeah,
we
well,
knew that there was going to
well,
happen.
that's the kind of thing. It's
so-
like, well, I know I'm not going to get my fulfilled ending until I watch the
Yeah.
other movies, and that's
you didn't get it in the book either.
yeah. And so that's the qualm for it is like it's not self-contained, and that's it's kind of like it's tough. That's a very harsh qualm because it's like it's built that way, but it's kind of like if it was self-contained where it could just end
Yeah.
and then have continued.
But then
Like,
they
if
wouldn't be true
they-
to the books.
If they had emphasized Boromir
Corey, no, I feel the
a
same
little
way.
bit more and had a bit more Boromir Aragorn stuff, then you could argue that that is the sort of plot of it. But it's hard to do that.
well, like
because-
yeah, to Corey's point, like if it were to be a full like a fully contained one, it would not be truly true to the books.
Mhm.
And so like it's hard to do, and that's the tough thing about adaptations, where it's
Yeah.
like either you do the whole thing or you do none of it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like if Marvel adapted another thing, like it would be 12 fucking movies long.
Yeah. I mean,
But
think
the-
about how many people would have been pissed if they had changed the ending.
And so, yeah, for me, like, it's just tough because it's like cinematically as a narrative, it's like it just ends with like a continuation
Mhm.
to be continued.
Mhm.
And so it's like, would like it to have ended.
And we'll talk about more of the cinematic changes in Return versus
Yeah.
the book because there's a lot more.
Yes.
Which, I mean,
comparatively.
it's kind of weird because like comparing it to like Batman Begins, where you feel like there's gonna be a trilogy, but it has a finite ending.
hmm I think the tough thing with this is that Batman has a wheelhouse of villains that
Right.
they could.
But also, you have a plethora of things to pull from, so you could end it anytime you wanted to. With Lord of the Rings, there's just
It's a
one
genuine
Lord of the
story.
Rings.
This is it has to be
So-
faithful.
one evil, one villain
To the
one-
major beats of the
one
story.
thing you're trying to do.
Mhm.
The one.
Well, I
Right?
mean, I think too. I mean, going back a little bit of what I was saying is that when this came out, when it was announced, everything, we knew that we were getting the three movies. We didn't need self-contained stories. We knew,
and they
we
came out
knew that
within
they
a
were
year.
filming the whole time.
I did
like- and that's the thing. You were a little bit younger,
Yeah.
and so it's like,
They came out within every year. There was
Yeah.
a Lord of the Rings for 3 years.
yeah. So I
which was
mean, we
pretty
kind
dope.
of
Yeah.
many people knew that. So, but I can see like if you didn't know that,
Well, I mean, like I compare it to like even like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
The first film just ended.
Well, they also didn't know they were doing more than one.
And then when World's End, or which is the second one?
I don't know.
Wherever the fuck the second one ends with
I
Jeffrey
think I'm
Rush
like
coming.
6 now.
It ends
Yeah,
with
I
Jeffrey
think
Rush
so.
coming back, and you're like, "Fuck, that's the ending." Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack Sparrow dies, and then Jeffrey Rush comes, and you're like, "Oh shit, it's over." But then like there's the next one, but it felt contained.
Right. Well,
And so-
because it was a one shot
Well,
originally. This was not.
They,
I'm talking about just
they
the
knew they
sequel
were
when you're
making-
writing into
oh
continuation.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like same thing with Matrix, where like they knew they were making 2 and 3.
Mhm.
Like they knew that was happening.
Well, and that how it felt contained as well.
Right.
Where
They
it's like
shouldn't have.
Neo
They
just Neo just
but they
flies
did.
off.
They did.
Like they didn't save everybody, but Neo just flies off, and you're like,
we should
"Oh,
do a
it's
Matrix
done."
thing, but I think Matrix. It's one of those trilogies where 2 would have been redeemed if 3 was better
Like in
Or not made.
or not
They
made.
contained it into
like in a
films.
weird way. I'm going to compare this to Dragon Ball Z. When they buy the DVD set, there's a marathon mode, and it just never ends. There's no like next time or this time. If Lord of the Rings had just been all continuous, it would feel like a whole thing, and that's why my big qualm of like, or my big thing is like, that's it. Because like I was like, I want it to finish. I
Yeah.
want the ending.
But that's where Hollywood
hours,
becomes
baby.
a business, and they're like, well, you gotta cut it down
Mhm.
to this length because we got to show it this many times per day in this theater.
100%.
That's where like unfortunately the business of Hollywood takes.
But it
over.
does kind
I
of bring
see-
up an interesting. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
What's cool about these movies is that they are like one piece.
Mhm.
Like you can sit down. I mean, if you got the time,
I've done it
you
multiple
can,
times.
Yeah, I've done it a few times. If you sit down and you just go boom, boom,
Marathon it.
and just marathon it, it
For
really
12
does
hours.
feel like it's
Finished.
it's a one movie.
Yeah.
It
It's a-
sounds daunting, but it's actually not hard to.
Well, okay,
Marathon.
like we've talked about to this point where it's like the 4 hour is more enjoyable than the 2 hour.
Mhm.
And like, even to my point, it's like, yeah, like when it ends, it's like, what the fuck happens next? It's that moment you get when you're watching Netflix or a TV show. You're like, what the fuck happens next?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you're like, let's get to the next
next
one.
episode.
So, and
Yeah.
I get the qualm of like not liking that they're self-contained and that it should have all been squished together. But at the same time, when it was coming out, I feel like it was more impactful to have them be these
Have the cliffhanger sort of.
have the
moments.
cliffhanger and have to wait that year. Or
What's gonna
It's like a
happen?
season
however long
finale,
it was going
like-
to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also because of the amount of time that passes in the movies. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Well, especially in the books.
yeah. Oh yeah, it's so much time.
Well-
I think the whole journey takes like 3 years.
Mhm.
Where I come from with it is kind of like there's the qualm with I have with any superhero movie is that nothing matters until the last one, because
Right.
everything just seems like glorified TV shows, where it's like it's episodic and it has to go to the next one.
Yeah.
And it's franchise. So like that's why I have the qualm of like it's
But
not
this one mattered.
everything matters, but then until the final end is done, like you're always gonna be like, where's the next one? But where's the next one? But where's
Yeah.
the next one?
I'll give you that on like initial viewing.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm just saying like that's in its entirety. Like I'm not gonna be like this movie's shit because it's not self-contained. I'm just saying like if we're gonna start looking at it, you gotta look critically.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying like it's amongst its accolades, you can have.
But
So let
here's
me
the
ask-
thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
What I was gonna say is, because you've said that a few times on our show,
Mhm.
and now that we're at a year in, I'm gonna ask you this question.
Yes.
Just because you see something critically and you see that point,
Mhm.
I can look at something critically, but still not see that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fine.
So that's the kind of thing.
So
that
I
I'm
mean,
like,
the
that is your critical analysis.
and
of
the
it.
exact
And I think
opposite
I'm in
would be
the
the
same boat with
the
Josh.
exact opposite will be the same. If
Yeah.
you don't see anything critically, and I
my,
see it.
my question was going to be, if it was set out to be a trilogy, why does it have to be self-contained?
Well, if it's going to be said, like announced that this is a trilogy, then I mean that's one thing or another. But like as an initial viewing, it's like if it's one thing, then I didn't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's part of it where like when this was happening, it was like one of those cultural like phenomenon tentpole things where it's like these movies are being made into or these books are being made into movies. They're all being shot at the same time, which is a
Well-
crazy undertaking.
I mean, you could say whatever you want about like the Matrix trilogy and like how like it was bad at the last few movies, whatever. But like the way that they really framed it was that the first film was birth, the second one was life, and the last one was death. But within each one, they have to have their own Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. Like they have to have those each ones. But to have it where like they don't go back to Hobbiton and like they have the elixir where they have the knowledge and then they come back changed. It feels like it's a cutting off point. And the thing is like Boromir has his full arc. And that's why I was saying like I really liked his style.
Yeah.
But then like Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, you just know that they're going to go off and like
Yeah.
save them. But then you don't see them save them. So you're like, well, I guess I have to watch the next movie to see the whole arc finish.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I guess my question is though, that how would you even fix that?
That's
If
the tough
it's a
thing.
qualm.
That's the tough thing. It's like if you fix the only way to fix it is to put all three movies in one,
Right.
or put all three books into one movie.
Which
That's
you
okay,
can't
I'll
do.
And
just watch
that's
all
what
of
I said
them
at the beginning. Is
together
like the
forever.
qualm is in its DNA.
Right.
Is that this
Yeah.
was supposed to be 3 movies?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, I mean, that's like the eternal thing with
'Cause there's
adaptations
3
where,
books.
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you're kind of at the mercy of
And all the books,
the source
are-
material.
Like at the end of
1,000
every Harry
pages?
Potter movie, the year is over,
Yeah.
and so it's
Right.
kind of like there is that kind of cycle feeling of like there's a beginning, middle,
but
and
it's
end.
also a little different. Like I think Tolkien was set out to write all of them.
yeah.
Like,
But I don't know if Tolkien ever had in mind that it was going to be a movie too,
no,
right?
never.
And so there's a difference
Yeah.
in the medium.
but it was 3. I think is, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you know this, but I think he wanted it to be one book, and his publisher told him to split it up.
I read.
I
something
think
like
I
that.
think that's
Yeah.
what it was.
Wow.
Well, because
So
it's
that's
basically
why-
3 parts. It's
Right.
not. Don't think of it as 3 books. It's one book
With 3 parts.
I
with
think
3
that's what it
chapters.
is.
And they
Because it
have
was
to,
he
from a
came to his
business
publicist
standpoint.
and it was like something like 4,000 pages.
Yeah.
And they were like, no one.
Rowling.
You wrote a new
started-
dictionary?
The difference with Harry Potter is Rowling started a series
Mhm.
where she's like, "This is book 1. I'm going to keep writing them until I stop writing them." So it wasn't.
Well,
like,
I mean, I think till
ultimately,
the Harry
like,
Potter arc
Voldemort-
is finished.
yeah, Voldemort was like part of that. But as far as like, that's where, like, in the DNA of her book,
Mhm.
she had the convenience of that every year
Well,
at Hogwarts.
I think it'd be unfair to say that like she didn't take from him.
oh, of
Oh,
course.
for sure.
So
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, like definitely, it's like kind of like everything gets
And
influenced
improved
by it.
upon.
And so I think she had the idea like this is going to become a movie.
This, yeah, might
and so
become a
like
movie.
yeah, you write to that point, but like that's a struggle sometimes when you
Mhm.
adapt something from
yeah,
to one source material
because
to
it's not,
that.
yeah, because it wasn't, yeah. I mean, it's in the back, like Voldemort's in the background, like you see hints of it, but it's never like, it's not the main focus, I would say,
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
the first few books.
Yeah.
It is an interesting business when you get down to it, like what
Yeah.
you're bringing up. I mean, it's one book. Like this isn't the Harry Potter episode, so I wanted, like with Lord of the Rings, it is called the Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
and then there is
the Two Towers.
the part 1, Fellowship of the Ring,
Mhm.
part 2, the Two Towers, part 3, like, but just consider it the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, but it is hard from a business standpoint too. It's like you just can't
Yeah,
self-contain.
it's like
them.
how do we? I mean, that was Peter Jackson's, one of his challenges of like, how do I adapt this book into a script that can have a satisfying enough.
Also, the piece of thing
arc.
about art and business is like, you're not going to be able to cover every single track. Like and that's the thing I think it's tough is like, even if I give a movie a 5, it doesn't mean it's perfect. I don't think there's ever going to be such a thing, because once we have a perfect movie, stop making movies. There's no point.
Yeah.
Technology won't get better. We won't get better actors. We won't get better writers. There's no point. I'm going to say at the time of, you kind of just look at things for the base of what you would find. Right. So like, I don't think there's possibly a better version that could be made. And to your point, like you said, like Peter Jackson is probably the only person that could have made it. I think that was probably the perfect time to make it. We'll see what happens with like Amazon makes their TV show, whatever should happen.
I'm very curious about that.
Oh yeah.
Because they have a bigger budget. They'll have more resources at the
Wait, they have
time.
a bigger budget?
They have $1 billion budget.
They got that Bezos money.
What?
What?
to do a TV show. And it's like, it's the biggest produced thing I think of all time.
I'm
gonna be.
both so excited and so afraid.
But the
I'm
thing
very
is
afraid.
that you're not going to have the same talent. You're not going to have the same feel. You're going to have 20 years of like culture that has to adjust to something that was magical like 10 years ago.
It's going to come with a lot of
17
baggage.
years ago. So like, it's not going to be the same. So I mean, like
No.
it's, like
Yeah. No, I'm scared for it. But we'll
see.
We'll see.
we'll come back for
Find
the
out.
year 2 episode.
That was good. I
too.
liked that. That was a good discussion. I really
But
liked
of course, we will continue this conversation.
But are
Next
we going
time
to
on
rate
Nerd
this
On.
one?
Just click
that.
next on
we
your
gotta
thing.
Rate.
We got
So
to
we're
rate.
just going to
next.
keep recording, right? And then we're going to really...
No.
We have to rate each one, and then we'll
my
do
God.
a rating.
Yeah.
We'll
Okay,
rate
I
this
just-
one.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to
Movies.
rate. It's 5.
Okay.
It's 5.
I mean, that's not a rate. That is a rate.
It's
You
I
are
know,
going
it
to.
just seems like a waste of time. Like,
It's a
5.
waste of time for all of us to say 5, except for Tom, who's going to give it a 4 point something.
Mine's a 1. Where
The
one's,
only-
one's the greatest.
Like it's the number
Okay.
one movie.
yeah, number 1 movie.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
No, of course it's a 5, and I really this last time Tom and I watched it a couple days ago, and then we watched it again today, and I was really trying to suss it out and feel out what my score would be for this, because I really wanted to. I didn't want to just be like a blind like it's 5 because I grew up with it, but it still is. Like after watching 8 hours worth of Lord of the Rings in the last 3 days, it's still a 5.
Yeah.
well,
And I
mean-
would gladly, if you all were like, hey, let's watch it again, I'd be like, great.
Well, I
Let's
mean,
go.
while we
Let's do
were
it.
watching it today, I was like, okay, all right, let's try to see if there's anything.
The thing is, you're not
No,
supposed to
rate
try.
me- No,
I had to.
But
'cause
here's
I can
the thing,
put
I mean,
goggles on easy with that
you have to
movie.
put on different because
Lenses.
I go on to a movie and I like the movie. That's
Yeah.
what I do. I
Yeah.
watch a movie and most of the time I like it, unless it really has like a punch you in the face problem. This one I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch it. And like what we have said, the descriptor for a 5 is you wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
Watching it today, I was like, wow, I wouldn't change anything.
Not a
Yep.
thing.
Not a single thing. Casting, music, nothing.
Yeah.
So it
5
by
for me
the
too.
standards is 5.
It'd be a 4.9 for me.
I knew
Of
it.
course.
Well,
I knew
if everyone is going to keep saying that the Two Towers is better, then obviously it's probably going to be a higher score. Right?
No,
Ollie?
Not necessarily.
Did
Well-
you say 5, Ollie?
Because if
Yeah,
our
I give it a
skills
5.
Some-
if our
it's
skills
my-
wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
It's my second
Then it's
favorite
5.
movie of all time.
Oh.
Fellowship.
and number one
Wait,
is
what's the first?
Towers.
Two
Towers.
Oh,
It's the
oh
Two
okay,
Towers.
we're getting to it.
Yeah. No, it's Towers, Fellowship, Return.
Wow.
And so for me, like, yeah, some 5s are better than other 5s, but like in the sense of it all, like within the context of these, it's probably 4.9
See,
because I would
mine-
change those two.
My favorite of the trilogy is actually Fellowship.
Oh,
I can see why too. And like today when we were watching it, I was like, oh my God, this first 20 minutes, I just want to watch this on loop for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Can we just do that?
Gandalf the Grey to me is superior to
Gandalf
Gandalf
the
the
White.
White. Gandalf the
Spoilers.
White is
Oh,
great.
I agree with that for sure.
He's
Oh,
super
yeah.
serious,
There's-
but Gandalf the Grey is so fun.
Yeah, my reasoning are for characters that are inside of Two
Yeah,
Towers.
that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have enough memory to even talk about Two Towers yet. So
Oh, man.
Soon.
We'll get
It's
there.
gonna be
We'll
great.
get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry.
we'll get
That's
there
next episode.
soon.
Yeah, if you want to listen to our Two Towers episode, you literally
Just click next on
Damn.
your thing, dude.
next.
Like right now.
yeah, we got
right
all
now.
3 out for you.
Enjoy.
I
Well,
hope your car ride wasn't long enough to listen to all 3, but
Hope
if it
not.
Oh my
is-
God, I hope not. I'm so
If you're on a
sorry
road
if it
trip,
was.
Then you
I like
probably
to
travel
think-
to Austin, Texas.
I'd like to
Um,
think that there is one person on a plane somewhere who is like, I got like 6 hours of Nerd On ready to go.
Yep, perfect.
And if you want to check
yeah.
out more of our content, you can head over to nerdon.tv
Yes, you
where
can.
we have written content. You can find our Twitch channel on there.
Find
We
our
have
other
Twitter,
podcasts.
Hopefully you've been
Facebook,
enjoying our
Instagram.
content.
We do. We stream daily except Sundays. So if you want
And
to
who
check us
knows,
out,
maybe that soon too.
yeah,
we got
maybe
the
we'll do
YouTubes.
Sunday soon.
We have YouTube where
Written
content
content.
goes up weekly.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Multiple
sometimes-
posts.
Sometimes.
If you like what you
several
hear,
times
please
a week.
just subscribe to the iTunes. And if you like to hear more of it, even more,
Yeah.
support us on Patreon.
Yes.
because you get bonus episodes. In fact, even 3 of them if you support
Yeah.
us enough.
Yeah. Early access, all that good stuff. A lot of perks. Check it out.
I'd like to take a moment because we are a year in, just to say thank you for listening to us. We are a year in, and
Your
we're
beautiful
very
ears.
excited. Yes, your beautiful ear holes. For
We love what we
listening to
do
us.
here.
Yeah.
Like really, truly.
Yeah.
We are trying to figure out every day how to do this more and more. So just
And better
thank
and
you.
better.
Yes, better and better.
It's grown so much. Like, and I feel like I'm cheating because I only came in April.
You
Yeah.
are.
Thank you, Tom.
We were like
Yeah.
holding the line for tickets, and you just kind of like, you're like, thanks for holding my spot.
Thanks for holding it,
No-
guys.
No
Yeah.
problem,
Hey.
Caitlin.
Yeah,
And
no
so
problem.
I feel like I just kind of slip and slide into Nerd On last minute.
It's all good. It worked out for the best.
But it's amazing to see how far we've come even in the last, what has
months.
it been?
Yeah.
4 months.
Yeah.
So
pretty-
it's been a crazy ride thus far. And
You guys want to do another one? You want to do another year?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure.
You want to sign up?
Yeah.
You want to re-up?
That's
Re-up?
I'm on a
Yeah.
month to month.
Okay, that's fine.
It's like my apartment.
I
Yeah,
want to
we're serious.
renegotiate my contract.
Let's
but
do
yes.
one more. Let's do one more year.
I'm in.
Okay.
I'm all in.
Let's do
Whatever.
one more
But
year.
like one more?
For now, we'll reassess again.
See, he's on a year to year.
But for
Sounds
right now,
good.
can we
I
just do
really
one
love-
more episode?
It's like a lease.
Yeah. Okay.
Can we at least, because this isn't like, can we at least talk about Two Towers?
Yeah. We'll
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah,
sounds
where
good.
where are we going?
We're gonna go talk about the Two Towers.
As always,
Nerd
on.
Ending broadcast.